This week in PlayStation, we're talking about our third annual PS I Love You XOXO PlayStation Awards, the best trophy list, the best open world, the most underrated game. We'll have all this and more because this is PS I Love You XOXO. Welcome to the show, everybody. That's Blessing. That's Janet. I'm Greg, and you can get this show on patreon.com/KindaFunny. Over on patreon.com/KindaFunny, you can get it ad-free. You can get to watch it as we record it live, and of course, you can get 38 episodes of bonus exclusive content. If you have no bucks to toss our way, it's no big deal. Support us on the Epic Game Store, Fortnite, Rocket League, or Fall Guys with the creator code KindaFunny on your PlayStation or any platform you play on. You can write in for free to be part of the show at kindafunny.com/PSILY. And of course, you can get PSILY. That's PlayStation. PS. Get it? PlayStation. PS. PS I Love You XOXO.
Is that what that stands for?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
You can get PS I Love You XOXO for free each and every week on youtube.com/KindaFunnyGames. And of course, on podcast services around the globe. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Delaney Twining, One Up Pest Control, Gwyneth, Brian Cheney, Alex Greedle, Jason L., Mick at Nanobiologist Abramson, Derek Gregg, Donald Eccles, and Jason L. Today we're brought to you by Shady Rays, Rocket Money, and Factor. But let's start with a PSN message from you. Janet, Blessing, you both look amazing.
You look amazing.
Thank you.
You do.
Oh, you
It's
do.
the blue suit cuss, you know? That's what it's all about. Now, is your suit coat new? I haven't seen this one before on you.
It's not new. It's new. It's newish. I got it at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
This is the one I wore to my friend Rihanna and Danny Pena's wedding.
I've heard of them.
Yeah.
Nice.
You might have heard of them online.
Sure.
But yeah, that's what I got this suit for. And funny enough, yeah, you hit us up this morning. You're like, yo, let's dress up for the show today. And I
Classic
just
Greg move. Sleepily only messaged you. Thought I was on the PS I Love You channel. Only messaged you. Sorry about the late notice, Janet.
And I thought
It's
I
all
was being
good.
cheeky by rocking the blue. But
Yeah.
then I come here and I'm like, oh, shit. No, Greg's on it too.
Blue Boys. That's what it's all about. Now, Janet, tell me about your ensemble. Who are you wearing?
I am wearing a black formal dress that I've owned for a number of years, but I haven't worn often enough to hate. So we're in a decent spot for this show, you know, the fine line. But yeah, I don't know what I originally bought this for. I can't remember what the occasion was because I've had it in my closet for so long. But
Fair enough.
I'm gonna need to go shopping for the next, like, if we're gonna be doing this every year, you know, with like the get up and then let alone the PS Vita birthday too. I had to go back to that episode, make sure that I hadn't worn this already for that. So might need to go shopping for future formal episodes, which happen surprisingly often.
Of course, if you're one of the dedicated trogs right now on patreon.com/KindaFunny, watching us record this show live, you're living in the reality of the moment. You're there. It's Tuesday. Hello. However, everybody else might be watching this on Friday. When we're posting this, we're, of course, recording early because we're all going to the Game Awards. So the question I have, even though this is now a time capsule, is none of these outfits are Game Awards outfits, are they?
No.
Okay. Yeah, me neither.
I could never. I would.
You wouldn't be caught dead on PS I Love You on Friday, and the same thing you wore on Thursday.
That's the conflict I came across this morning trying to figure out my outfit.
Sure.
Because, you know, I wanted to come correct, but also I didn't want to overlap anything, right? I had some shirts. I had a couple of shirts that I had bought for the Game Awards, and I still, you know, I'm still back and forth between which one I'm going to wear or if I'm going to wear both. Am I going to have outfits changed, right? And so I looked at...
When are you going to have time to do an outfit change?
Oh, I'll find time, Bear.
Game Awards are long. You can definitely.
It is
leave
a
and
long
come back.
day. There's mixers beforehand, and then the actual show, and then there's a thing after the show. And so somewhere in there, I'd fit an outfit change. But I was looking at one of the shirts, and I was like, "Ooh, I could rock this one," but I wasn't feeling. I didn't want to spoil my Game Awards fit.
Sure.
And so I ended up pulling out this shirt, which, funny enough, this is a shirt that I bought for the Disney Marvel Game Showcase. This was my original plan for that. And then, you know, for that, they asked me, they're like, hey, can you come up with like 3 different outfits that you can send to us and we'll like figure out which one to wear, right? Based on like, you know, what outfit isn't going to cause meringue in the video, like, you know, what outfit feels like it fits the tone we're
like,
trying to
no
go
zipper.
for.
We can't have a zipper.
And so, like, I got this shirt, and I was like, oh, certainly this is the winner. Like, certainly there's not, because I got this, and I was like, you know what? Just in case, I'll bust out, like, a sweater, and maybe I'll bust out my corduroy jacket that I've owned for a couple years at this point. And I present them with these outfits, thinking that for sure this shirt with this button-up shirt with the zipper as the pocket, right? I was like, oh man, that's the cool one. I'm sure they'll want to go for that one. And they're like, no, give us the sweater. And I was like, oh, all right.
They want to play it safe more than style, which you got to respect. You know, it's Disney. You know, you
Yeah.
got to come proper.
I forget the exact wording they used, but it was like casual, like smart casual, I think was the wording. And
Fair
this was
enough.
a bit too casual or too formal.
Too smart.
Yeah, too smart.
I've been there. Don't worry about it. We turn to a PSN message from you. Of course, you can write in to be part of the show to give us the thought starters we need and the commentary we will have later for the awards. We asked for a commentary for something to jump off of for the PSN message, and Tan Skater 81301 wrote in and said, "Do you believe that the best games are story-based or gameplay-based?" Janet Garcia.
If I have to only pick one, I'm going to have to say gameplay.
Sure.
Just because I think holistically, video games are the best at gameplay, and kind of, I think there are plenty of games that I can think of that have great gameplay and don't have much in the way of story.
Sure.
For the most part, other than like narrative specific games, like their narrative in terms of genre, like a walking simulator, like Life is Strange, there aren't a lot of games that have a great story and the gameplay's bad. And even in a game like Life is Strange, I know there's the classic, comments of, oh, it barely has gameplay. But I would actually argue the gameplay in, True Colors is really good, because it's not just about, walking from point A to point B. It's about the interactivity. It's about the ways that they sort of reconstruct the settings to subvert your expectations of what you'd encounter in a walking sim. Like, there are so many ways to, I think, play even within that genre. And again, to utilize gameplay to tell the story. At the end of the day, games is such an active medium that I think gameplay takes precedent, because that's what helps you also connect with the story for the most part. I'm not gonna lie, I've definitely watched cutscenes of games on YouTube of stories that I love. So definitely gaming has the capacity for excellent storytelling, but I think that storytelling is still ultimately going to be enhanced and reliant on the gameplay to a certain degree.
Blessing Adeoye Jr., do you believe that the best games are story-based or gameplay-based?
I concur with Janet. I got to go gameplay.
Thank you, doctor.
I think a lot of this comes from when I look at the games I love, right? Usually it is the games that are more action heavy, the games that are more like, I love fighting games. I love platformers. I love stuff that lets you get involved, right? And I think for me that comes first and foremost before I get to story. And I'd even argue that, like, when it comes to story in video games, the best stories shine when the video game mechanics reinforce the story and reinforce the narrative.
Sure.
Janet brings up Life is Strange True Colors. An example I would bring up is something like Gone Home, where, Gone Home, I think historically people online have made fun of walking sims for the idea that, oh, there's no gameplay here. All it is walking around and like reading things, right? But I think a very good walking sim, or a game like Gone Home, or Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, a well-constructed one of those has fun gameplay, because the gameplay is explore.
Exploring.
Yeah, exactly. You're exploring the space. You are picking up these things. It is the design of the house or the space that you're in, right? Like, how does the design facilitate you through, like, looking through these different notes or through these different rooms and picking up these different things to then intake a story, right? I think Nier Automata is another one I'd point to in terms of, hey, like, this game is structured so that you're getting the story from different angles and different perspectives, right? For me, all my favorite video game stories start with gameplay that then delivers that story to you. And so I got to go with gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, it's for me, Tan Skater, a perfect game of, you have to say it's gameplay. If it was, I always talk about being, so into story, and that's what drives me to play games or want to experience those kind of games. But if it was just the story and that's all I wanted, I would read a book, I would watch a movie, I would play more visual novels, right? That are just making choices, making dialogue things and going through. It is a video game, and that comes down to gameplay and wanting to experience a world and get lost in however you want to get lost in, whether it is just a fighting game and the mechanics are super deep, whether it is an RPG where you're building your character, or whether it is a walking sim where you're just walking around exploring it, right? Like, for Gone Home having such a special place in my heart and being such a story video game, right? It is exploring the Greenbrier residence. It is trying to piece together what's going on. It is that, wait, am I about to get possessed? Is there a ghost I'm fighting as well? No, there's so much to it that's more than just a story. I think if it was just a story, I would, play these visual novels people put out all the time in the Vita, and everybody would be happy.
Yeah, and I think
I really quick, I want to come in as the contrarian, since y'all are pretty 1 for 1 on this. I play video games for stories. I love video games for the storytelling medium. So for me personally, I do think the answer to the question does have to come down to what you're looking for in video games. And for me, like you guys even bring up of like good gameplay can enhance or, back up the kind of idea of a story. And for me, that's kind of all wrapped in one. And so for me, that's what I look for is stories in video games because it's such a unique way to tell stories. So
yeah,
but you're not picking story over gameplay, or are you?
I am.
Okay.
That's what I play video games for.
See, I play video games for the story too, but again, like if it was just this is a great story, but it's just text on the screen, which a lot of games have been. Yeah, that's not my jam. I want to play it.
Yeah, and I think video games it becomes an interesting question because video games I think can have unique stories compared to any other medium, right? Like there's a unique way for video games to tell a story. Like one of the things I think of is like the growth of playing any RPG and starting from the bottom, right? Of being like maybe starting as nobody, maybe starting as just a regular person or whatever it is, right? And by the time you get 50, 100 hours in, it is, oh, I am this character who you might have grown in terms of your your power and ability, but at the same time you're growing with characters, and at the same time, right, like the way in which video games I think take you through a journey compared to movies and TVs, obviously different mediums. I don't think there is one medium that tells stories better than another medium, but I think video games have this unique ability to tell a story in a very specific way because it is you taking that role, right? Like I don't know if The Last of Us Part 2 would hit like The Last of Us Part 2 hits if you weren't the one that was
action.
Yeah, that
your stuff.
That was crafting the stuff, and also like
protecting Ellie,
like taking out these enemies, like taking out Abby's people, right? And then having to make that shift of now you're playing as Abby, and now you're forced to literally be in her shoes, right? Like that is a thing that only video games can do, and movies and TVs can try to do stuff like that. But I even imagine that by the time we get the Last of Us TV show, if we get a Last of Us Part 2 season, I think they're gonna have to find ways to own that story for that medium in a way that is different from how the video game did it, because I think the Last of Us Part 2 video game does it in a way only the video game can.
In the patreon.com/KindaFunny live chat, Snug Slacks, also referred to sometimes as Slug Snacks. What's a game you love with a good story but terrible gameplay? And that's such a hard question. I'm trying to rack my brain of what's a game that I was like, this is atrocious, but I like what I like this. I like what I'm hearing.
There's a game called, I feel like I'm going to butcher the name and I want to Google it. I think it's called 3/4 Home. I'll have to double check. I played it on Switch, and it was a game where you're driving home, and the gameplay sucked because, yes, do you know this game?
Yep, I remember this. Yeah,
black and white?
Yep, it's black and white. 3/4 Home. Is this the one with the tornado and like you're talking to your mom on the phone? Yeah, I played it.
Why do you know this? When did this come out?
Because it's us, Janet. It's you and me. We share one mind and one thing. Somebody's like, hey, there's a great story-based game for you. We're both going to play it. And we're like, all right, cool. I want to do this.
I played this before I met you.
March 2015. March 2015.
Funny. Yeah.
We were the same person before we met, Janet. It's okay.
Yeah, so that game has a great story but horrible gameplay because one of the gameplay components, and I don't remember all of them, was that you had to like hold the analog stick to drive left to right to progress the text on the screen, which is inherently a bad idea, but then it just ends up like all you're doing is holding to the right, and that sucked. But the story was awesome. Only one I can think of off the top of my head.
The Witcher 3.
It does exist.
Oh, get out of here. It's the same thing in the chat. Snug Slacks goes, oh yeah, The Order is a good example. No, it's not. The Order's gameplay wasn't terrible. That's what we're talking about. It's terrible. It was not terrible.
And I can name so many games the opposite way, right? Like games that have a terrible,
that are fun to play,
a terrible story that are fun to play.
God.
Yeah, like Sonic Frontiers is an example of a game where
Outriders. Jakob.
In a weird one, not terrible gameplay, but I would say poor presentation where you're not playing the game a lot. Persona 4 Arena Ultimax.
Okay,
that story was like very like text-based. A lot of just like cutscenes with anime characters on still backgrounds and stuff, and I feel like in the 10 hours of that, right, I was probably only in fighting gameplay, right, for maybe an hour.
As somebody who plays games for stories as well, I think the gameplay has to be there for it to do this. But I think it's an interesting question, right? Because Gary Gutierrez says in the chat, patreon.com/KindaFunny, they both need each other. And I don't think gameplay needs story. I think story needs gameplay in a video game.
I agree with that.
Because again, I love stories. That's why I play it. And I've definitely played games that are fun to control or whatever, but I'm like, oh, I don't like the genre, or I don't feel compelled to keep going. I understand why people are in love with this, but it's not me. And I'll walk away from that gameplay focused game. But I've never had, I don't think, the inverse where it's like, I'm so into this story that I'm playing this game that I fucking hate the gameplay of. Like, that just doesn't.
I mean, that was 3/4 Home, but also I was on an airplane when I was playing.
My thing with 3/4 Home is I remember it just being unremarkable. I don't remember hating it. I remember it being a tornado thing and like you were driving.
Maybe you have a higher tolerance for bad gameplay than I do.
I probably do. Janet.
I mean, I finished it. Like, I finished the game, so I don't know.
Interesting. Ladies and gentlemen, let us know in the comments of the video on YouTube. What do you think? Are you a story person or a gameplay person? Because we can't stay here all day. This was just a thought starter. It's time for topic of the show. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can believe it, it is time for the 3rd annual PS I Love You XOXO PlayStation Awards. Blessing, explain our award show to the audience.
Greg, me, you, and Janet, we have a handful of categories that we talk about, and I was gonna say argue, but we don't argue, right? We bring our own picks to talk about the best of the best PlayStation games of the year, right? And we have a specific set of categories that are very specific toward PlayStation, right? It isn't what is the best game of the year. It isn't what is best story.
Let the Gamescast deal with that shit.
Yeah, let the Gamescast deal with it. Let the Game Awards predictions and all the other award shows out there deal with it. On PS Love You, we do it the PS Love You way, which is we PlayStationize these categories, right? And so we are talking about what's the most underrated PlayStation game. We're talking about what is the best PlayStation studio, right? Or the best studio that put out a game on PlayStation, right? We're talking about what is the best PlayStation trophy.
Already
list.
pulling your punches so you can get whatever you want. Your studio pick, aren't you?
Is it? I mean, we can get there. We can talk about when we get there. But I just assume best studio. You know, we're talking about.
This is the time of year
because like only 2 PlayStation studios put out.
This is when we just kick back, we hang out. We usually drink doing it. We guys.
Is it too late to get a drink?
I can go check the fridge.
Yeah,
we can send Cool Greg across to make cocktails or whatever.
That's true.
Janet, send Isaiah. Oh, Isaiah, I see you in the chat. Go get Janet a drink.
we have more shows to record later in the day.
It's Gamescast.
Are you trying to hop in, walk on a Gamescast?
What are you gonna do? Hold on, I'm gonna ask Cool Greg.
Oh, my Game Wars prediction. Oh man,
come here. Hey, it's Game Wars prediction.
The Rock trips off stage.
Tim will be.
Isn't that right, Greg?
Is the Rock confirmed to be a Game Wars tomorrow?
I don't know.
Flash yesterday.
I think this is me hoping.
Okay. Well,
Game Awards happened yesterday, technically, for this episode.
Yeah.
Man, isn't it wild that like
it was crazy.
Yeah.
While we're talking about the future, remember, of course,
Jedi Survivor. How was that, man?
After this episode, we have one more before the end of the year and before our break, and it will be looking ahead at PlayStation 2023. So kindafunny.com/PSILY with what you want to see out of 2023 when it comes to PlayStation. But enough about the future. We're still talking about the past, and we're going to kick off the 3rd annual PS I Love You XOXO PlayStation Awards with the most underrated PlayStation game of 2022. Of course, these are things that came to PlayStation. They do not need to be exclusive. That does not need to be the requirement. We're here to talk, to celebrate, and to mourn in some examples. Janet, what did you pick?
For most underrated, I have Escape Academy. I love Escape Academy. It's just a fun time. And I think the puzzles are genuinely really compelling. I think they do a lot of fun things with, I know later on we're going to talk about trophies. I think the trophy list on that one's also very fun. Most of them are just integrated with what you're already doing. It has split screen as an option, which is super convenient. I just had a really great time with this. I think they do some great things with like hint systems as well. And I know Bless, that was a complaint that you had when it launched. It was too easy to hit the button for the hint, and they updated and patched that. So I think they just had a really cool creative take on also just putting you into different sets of escape rooms by having this construction of, you're at a school for escape artists. It's a little silly, a little cheesy in certain parts, but I think the puzzles were just super cool. And I think they really helped utilize the medium where they talk about designing stuff in real life and how games allow them to do wild stuff that you couldn't do. You can't risk drowning people in an actual escape room, but here you can kind of do whatever you want. Super playful, really interesting. I love this one. Also just a favorite co-op thing. So if you haven't tried it, I think give it a swing, because I had a blast with Escape Academy, and so did Isaiah. I know DLC dropped for it a month or two ago, I still need to get to, but Escape Academy is my pick.
It's a great pick, Janet. It was on my short list for sure when I got to this, because I adored Escape Academy. We reviewed it here earlier in the year, and it did such a great job of making you feel like you were in a real escape room, but also not gamifying it to a degree that would be annoying, if that makes sense. I hate it when you're playing something and the clock's ticking down and it expires and it's whatever. There's a clock here, obviously. There was a few times where I think one or two where I ran out of time on it, but I didn't feel that pressure. I felt the objective of exploring on my own, figuring out what I wanted, and it was always hard enough. I think what I described in the review, right, was the idea that it was meant to be solved. Like, yes, these are puzzles. Yes, they're meant to challenge you, but they're meant to be solved. They're not meant to drive you completely insane as you try to figure out what it was. And they got so creative with what you were looking for, what you needed to do, like how to turn this on to get that screen to work and all that jazz. We had a great time with it, I know.
Yeah. When we played it at Summer Game Fest for the first time, I think both me and you were like, oh, snap, this is actually going to be a really fun game when it comes out. And it turned out to be a really fun game. And it's one that I think was for sure a great follow-up for my time with Operation Tango the year before, where like that last year, that was my Escape Academy, where I was like, oh, this game is actually really fun, and it's really fun to like sit here and like struggle with a co-op partner and figure out like how we're going to solve this puzzle.
Yeah.
And my only critiques for Escape Academy were the things that I think Operation Tango did that were better for an online play, right? Where it is, hey, you aren't seeing your co-op partner's screen, right? They are describing to you the things that they're seeing versus the things that you're seeing, and you have to work together in that way. And then also, things like the hint system, where it is, oh man, I accidentally pressed square because I'm stuck, and now I'm pressing buttons, and like, oh man, now I got the hint. Now I'm gonna bring down our grade. Things like that, I thought they could do better, and they updated it over time, and now that game is kind of the game that I was asking for when I was playing it at launch. And the fact that they have DLC, the fact that they're adding in more challenges, I want to get in and try that stuff out. And like I'm right there with you that I think more people should have been talking about Escape Academy because it was a very fun game.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the MO for the year in a lot of ways, right? That I felt more than ever there were a lot of underrated games, or games that flew under the radar, or games individuals were passionate about but never saw the widespread acclaim. We talked about Escape Academy so much, and it's not a game that I really saw the needle get moved in our community, people rushing out to play it or really get a part of it. And I understand that your dollars can only go so far, and there's only so much time in the day, and yada yada yada, but it was such a great year for games that inevitably stuff was going to get kicked to the wayside, which is why this category is so important. Bless, what'd you pick?
I'm picking Tinykin.
Here we go.
Game.
Yeah.
It's one that I first saw this game when Shuhei Yoshida tweeted about it, and like the month it came out, right? The weeks leading up to it. And Classic Shu, right? Putting me on to games. I think I saw this. He did the same thing with Chicory, and I was like, "What is this game that Shuhei?"
Shu is really great at being the ambassador to indies, like they've been trying about.
Like, he has a really good eye for games, and so when it came out, right, more people played it and were like, "Oh snap, this is pretty cool." And then eventually, I got to it like a month later, and I understood what people were talking about because starting it off, playing it, I immediately was taken away by the art style of it. It is a very cute looking game. It is a very awesome art style. The way they mix the 2D character designs with this 3D world and having it be this Pikmin-like thing of you are this space explorer and like a tiny space explorer that is exploring this foreign world that is just a person's house, right? And each room is a different level, and you are interacting with these groups of bugs, and like they are essentially their own civilizations. I thought it was a very cute and cool premise, but then the gameplay, for me, as somebody who hasn't played much Pikmin, right? It's what I imagine Pikmin is similar to.
I imagine this is what
Pikmin is like. Even though I've talked to people that have played Pikmin, they're like, actually, it's kind of different.
But that's not what I imagined. Sorry, I can't.
But it is the thing of you're collecting all these different, these little guys, these little, I guess I'll just call them little alien creatures.
Call them Pikmin, it's fine.
Your little Tinykin, and they're different colors, and each of them have these different abilities. And the more you collect, the more you're able to traverse and do different things, right? Like you have one color of Tinykin that if you throw them at a thing, they'll explode, right? You have another color that you can stack up, and then you can climb them like a rope. And those mechanics I thought were really well developed, really well fleshed out, and really fun to actually use in practice. The visuals really good. The level design remind me of some of the platformers I love from back in the day, right? And the way that last year with Psychonauts 2, I remember folks being like, yo, you liked Banjo, you liked Donkey Kong, you should play this game, right? And sadly, that didn't work enough for me. But with this game, it is that exact thing of, oh, I like Donkey Kong 64, I like the N64 era of platformers, and Tinykin for me really embodied that spirit of gameplay, where it is go through, collect a bunch of shit, and like get lost in this level. And the more you play, the more you play a level, the more you're like, oh man, all right, I know exactly where I need to go, right? It's kind of like untangling like just a pile of like knots, right? Where it's just really satisfying of like, oh man, I'm going through and I'm just unraveling this level as it goes, and I know exactly where I need to take this thing. It's a very satisfying game to play. And so shout out to Tinykin, my most underrated PlayStation game of 2022.
Yeah, the progression's just so natural in that game. Like to your point, it's totally true that you can get, a thing or something can open up and you'll know exactly where to go next if you're like really paying attention. But it's also the kind of game where you don't have to like think about anything. You can just naturally roam and explore, and stuff will just start opening up. It's like inadvertently knocking over really satisfying sets of dominoes and then watching them topple over. To your Pikmin comparison, it is like Pikmin. I don't know anyone who's like it's, the only difference is it doesn't have time constraints, which is actually some people's biggest complaint about Pikmin. I can kind of take it either way, but where there is that stress of needing to do things in a certain amount of time and then your Pikmin can die and stuff like that. Like this doesn't have any of that. It also makes, I think, a lot of really smart decisions in the way of traversal. Like you're such a small character in a large, well, it's a normal sized room, but like it's large to you, by giving you stuff like the little soap bar that you can skate on at any time. So it makes it just so easy to get around. There's also a lot of strategic like zip wires set in place. So I think they just really lean into, this is a fun playroom to explore. Like if you like that kids room level and It Takes Two minus like the traumatic murder scene, this is like totally gonna be your jam. I still haven't finished this yet. I'm very jealous that you finished it. Like after I was like, oh, you should play this, and then you beat it. I hate when people lap me on my own Rex, but I love this game, and this is such a smart pull for underrated, because I totally agree. Like the people that like it, but it's the kind of game that I think so many people didn't get to, and it's like one of my favorites of the year.
Yeah, it's definitely on my holiday break radar in terms of how much it's got talked up by you, Bless, by you, Barrett. Like it's one of the ones that's loaded on the PlayStation, ready to go to see what the fuss is about. For my underrated game here to round out this category for us before we turn it over to you, the audience, I put Moss Book 2. And this is underrated and underplayed by even myself. Obviously, if you listen to PS I Love You this year, we've talked about our excitement for PlayStation VR 2, but also the domination of the Quest and how it's made us incredibly unexcited to play our PlayStation VR 1. So I adored Moss Book 1 when that dropped, had a great time with it. We did a whole bunch of coverage and stuff with it. I got a PlayStation VR show when we were doing that show. And then I just feel like this Moss Book 2 missed the mark in terms of release strategy, where I wish they could have, and I know there's a million other things going on, but I would have thought, waited to been a PlayStation VR 2 game, launch with that. I wouldn't be surprised, obviously, if they do some kind of PlayStation VR 2 SKU when it does drop. And then it also came to Quest later, and that's where I've actually played more of it. I have not beaten it. I am still holding out hope for my PlayStation VR 2 version of it and have something to play there when that drops that I really want to get into. But Moss and Moss Book 2 continue to be such a dynamite use of VR in the way that you are this ghost character. If you're watching the show right now, you get basically, these diorama levels where Quill the mouse runs around. You control the combat, and then you can use your ghost-like powers to move things and blocks to get Quill places to run, places to walk, places to platform. But every one of those levels is still so expertly handcrafted, so gorgeous. To sit in there like I was talking about, it's all, and especially now on Quest, something I didn't get on PlayStation VR due to the way it tracked, right? To play it on Quest 2, it is that idea of getting in there and like looking left, looking right, walking in a little bit to look around, to really explore the level as yourself, to then guide Quill to whatever it is you're trying to collect. Like Moss Book 2, again, I have not finished it, so I can't like give you a rating or whatever, but it seems to have that same magic and whimsy of Moss Book 1. And I feel like Moss Book 1 got a lot of flowers, got a lot of praise, got a lot of love, because at that time we were super hyped on VR. If I remember correctly, that was a E3 announcement from PlayStation's showcase when they were still doing it, that they announced Book 1. And it was like a big deal that they did it, and it had a lot of support when it came out. But, you wait a few years, and PlayStation VR and VR in general has moved in such a different direction that this really was a game that came out and has struggled to get any fanfare. And that really, I think, sucks for Polyarc, because they clearly, still are killing it with this game, let alone the performances. Again, like, this is a series that opens in the public library with you reading a big book. And as you go into it, there's a narrator telling you Quill's story, and that narrator does all the voices for it. So it's like your mom's reading you a bedtime story that you then go play, which, of course, for me is a recipe for me to be like, yes, I love this game quite a bit.
Yeah, it makes me like kind of can't wait for PSVR 2 to get here.
Yeah,
to maybe be a reason why I actually finally give it a go.
Yeah,
because I think you're absolutely right about the release timing of it. Of me personally, right? Not just being in a space where I'm like, oh, a VR game, let me give it a go, right? I can't remember the last time where we got the cocktails.
Oh, here we got our cocktails to choose from, everybody. Welcome to the PS I Love You XOXO. So cool, Greg. Kevin, what did you guys bring us here?
Oh my god, they brought options. Oh, this is scary.
We have a Jolly
I love the
Rancher.
Jolly
Okay.
Rancher.
If you didn't know, there's a liquor store by the office that sells cocktails. They put it all together in these little plastic Ziploc bags that
Oh
you can
my
then mix
God.
over ice. So wait, what do we got?
So
So,
dangerous.
we got Jolly Ranchers. We got Destroyer. Someone scratched out the bad part. AMF. And then what's I went over there.
This is called the Lemon Clouds,
Okay.
which I'm like scared to say out loud because half of these are usually like some
Cool
weird
G's got
juice.
Hennessy. What's he got over there? Hennessy and
Hennessy
apple
and
juice,
apple
the
juice,
Cool
hell yeah.
Red Classic. Okay, cool.
And then I think this is there's another Jolly Rancher.
Okay. What are you going with? What are you feeling?
I mean, I'm a Jolly Rancher dude
Okay.
for life.
Okay. What goes into your Jolly Rancher cocktail there?
Oh man, this is gonna make people's heads explode. It's Mike's Hard Lemonade, or Mike's Hard Cranberry Lemonade.
Okay.
We got what is this? Sweet and sour schnapps, watermelon schnapps. We got Bacardi Limon,
Okay.
and then we got
Tanqueray.
Tanqueray. Yeah, we got
That's a
some gin.
lot.
Yeah.
That's why they give you the cup of ice when you leave, so you can then put it right immediately on dice. I've decided I'm going to go with lemon clouds.
Okay.
I like a good lemonade. What do I got here? So I got Calypso strawberry lemonade
Oh, it's like that character.
from the hit TV show starring Anthony Mackie.
Yeah, exactly.
with St. Metal. I got 2 Smirnoff pink lemonade mini bottles, and then what do I got here? Oh, the Hypnotic liqueur. Thank you,
Hell
Cool
yeah.
Reg.
Thanks, man.
We mix all this over ice.
Anyway, I can't wait for Moss. Maybe play it on PlayStation VR too.
Me
Oh my
neither.
God.
It's got to be there, right? That Moss Book 2 has got to be there.
I mean, now that we know there's no backwards compatibility, who knows?
I mean, but you figure if it's already got my theory on all of it, right? If you've got a Quest 2 version of it,
Yeah,
you're going to be able to
they're
port
gonna be able
that
to port
over
it
and you
pretty
put out a
easily.
new SKU. Janet's going off to get her cocktail. What is she doing? Janet's taking off her headphones, moved her thing around. She's up to something. I don't like it when I don't know what she's up to. You know?
Is she getting
Oh my
something?
god,
like
she's
that?
just bringing out something that like straight up alcohol.
Do you have alcohol in your closet? That's what you do,
Yeah.
Janet? I appreciate that.
I have alcohol in my closet.
Yeah, right as I ordered him to go
I don't want Bruce to get into like the liquor cabinet. You know what I mean?
Sure, that
Although
makes sense.
Isaiah gave me some cranberry juice, but it didn't have anything in it because I have like my alcohol here.
Yeah,
So
I
have
was
to just
wondering.
eye it.
Isaiah in the live chat did say he had to jump on a work call, so I wasn't sure. So now so what's your cocktail you're making, Janet?
Just a vodka cranberry because I have cranberry juice and I have vodka. I don't drink a lot of liquor generally. I'm more of a beer person, but
Yeah.
we have a bunch left over from my sister-in-law's birthday. Shout out to Maggie. Happy birthday.
Maggie!
You don't watch the show, but you'll see this one day. But she was like, I want cocktails for my birthday. And I was like, cool. I'm like, I don't want to fucking make cocktails. So I looked up like a bunch of like easy cocktails and like I just got a couple of different mixers and stuff. And this is just some of the stuff we have left. So I guess I just have to eye it because I don't have it. I don't have a thing.
You're fine. You got this. Don't worry. There you go. Just vodka cran out of the closet. You're great.
I feel like that might have been too much, but
Well, that was my thing. Is again, I usually when we do the liquor store runs, when we have guests over, they're usually pretty stoked about it. I usually just grab a beer, and so this is my first time making one of the cocktails out of it. And I should have started with the strawberry lemonade because I have more of that left over than all the mini alcohol I poured in there. So we'll see how this show goes from here on out. While we stir and get ready for our first taste, let's go to the audience. Of course, we asked you on kindafunny.com/PSILY what are your answers for these categories. And I said most underrated PS game of 2022. Eugene wrote in and said Gran Turismo 7.
Oh,
The hate was unwarranted. That's all he wrote. We said explain your picks. Some people didn't explain their picks at all. And let me tell you, when we get to trophies, I'm going to have some fucking words for you.
This is what I wish he explained because I know
I think he says it all right there. The hate was unwarranted. Of course, GT.
I missed the hate.
No, you didn't.
well, it was the
Was it the
microtransaction
microtransactions?
stuff,
Oh, okay. I
which
saw some of
I
that.
honestly don't think that's much of anything. It got great scores.
But it was also
Like-
the economy of in-game stuff, like even outside of microtransactions, of stuff that you would have to play to earn in-game to buy certain cars. Like I remember that being all messed up too.
Yeah, but they fixed that, right?
Yeah, but you get one chance at a first impression. And
Also,
that was
I would say, wouldn't the hate then be literally warranted?
sure, but if
'Cause
you're a
there's, like, a
fan,
reason
if you're a
for it?
fan like Eugene here, who stuck it out, went through it, you know what I mean? I think my personal takeaway from Eugene, who did not really show his work, just said the hate wasn't warranted. I think it's the fact of what he's talking about, what we're talking about right now, where in the past on this show and other kind of funny shows, when Gran Turismo 7 does come up, the narrative is just, oh yeah, and they fucked up their microtransactions. Everybody was mad, right? Yep. And that's it. That's the narrative out of it. It's not that Mike had a good time. I remember Mike reviewed it, and it was his first GT, and he really enjoyed it. And there was some guy or whatever that was like his Sherpa through the GT story mode or whatever, like a character in the game that we all had a fun time with. But
yeah, and I mean, Michael High and my roommate absolutely loved GT7. Like to this day, we still have the racing wheel in our living room, chilling next to the TV.
Nice.
And like
someday somebody come back to it.
Yeah, he got all the way into it. I don't know if he still. I don't think he still plays it because I've not seen him rock that
racing
wheel
wheel
in a while.
Pretty dirty.
Yeah, it's kind of
fucked up Peloton in my living room, just chilling. Nothing's happened to it.
But I know at launch he was like, "Oh man, this is my everything." Like he was like, "This is my game of the year right now." And then Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin came out, and that all changed.
That was it. That was the end of that. I understand. David Pavito wrote in to kindafunny.com/PSILY and says, Horizon Forbidden West. Now, hear me out. I know Horizon Forbidden West was great and reviewed well and sold well by all accounts, but again, the Horizon series game came out at the same time as a true juggernaut, Elden Ring, so it didn't get a chance to exist on its own and be lauded the way God of War, Ragnarok, and other games did. I see the argument.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, I agree, right? Like, and like, I don't think it's tough because Elden Ring, as somebody who loves Elden Ring, right? And somebody is nasty. It's nasty, Greg.
No, it's not nasty. It's tart.
Yeah,
There's a lot of lemon.
Are you drinking it through a straw?
This
Why?
is what. Hey, man, lemon clouds. It came with a straw. What do you want me to do? Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get fucked up from the liquor store across the street, get the Ziploc bag that says lemon clouds.
Lemon clouds. As somebody who loves and adores Elden Ring, and Elden Ring's probably my game of the year and probably my game of the decade.
Wow.
Horizon, I feel so bad for Horizon because like that game is so excellent. Like that game is magnificent. It's really fun, great story. Like I think they did the damn thing. But for the second time in a row, they come out the same in the same 2-week period as a game that is genre defining and as a game that has a fan base that won't shut up about it. And so like I feel for Horizon, and I think in the framing of how Dave was talking about it, I would say I think I agree that it's underrated, right? Like if Horizon came out at times that weren't as volatile for its own release, I think it would do better in the conversation, and more people would be able to appreciate it separated from all these other things, right? It's not Elden Ring's fault that Elden Ring is excellent, right? It's not Breath of the Wild's fault that Breath of the Wild's excellent.
Not God of War's fault that is excellent too.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like, and that's part of the argument, right? Where to what David's talking about here, it didn't get the chance to exist on its own and be lauded the way God of War and Ragnarok other games did. I hear you, and I agree with that for your underrated argument, but I still think God of War Ragnarok is the only game right now that has a shot at Game of the Year over Elden Ring. And that's a fight. I'm not saying that's easy by any stretch of the imagination. Whereas I don't think Horizon ever had that, right?
No.
It was
Correct.
Elden Ring dropped and everybody's like, this is great. I'm sorry, what was that, Janet?
I just said correct. Like I agree with you.
You.
I think something that's weird about Horizon, it's not. I mean, the release does not help. Where it's like next to greatest game ever, next to other greatest game ever. Literally, like it could not be worse. But it also does have problems. Like the first and the second one have issues that I totally think are valid. I don't have as much beef with the game as other people might, but I see the criticisms, and I have criticisms of my own. We've talked about that at length on this show and on other shows we've done. But there's something about Horizon that it's just like tainted for the community, and I don't know why that is, because I feel like Horizon critically is mostly rated the same as something like Ghost, a game that like I personally think is a great game but has a lot of problems, and people are like, what do you mean it's great? Like the wind, you didn't care about the wind. It's like you didn't care about the wind. And I'm like, it was cool, but like I have a lot of beefs with that game. They get rated about the same, but people are more mad at Horizon not being a 10 than they are at Ghost not being a 10. Like there's this, people won't let Horizon exist as an 8 to 9, and I get wanting it to be better, and I think
do you mean they won't let Horizon as a franchise, or they mean the Forbidden West
as a franchise? Like not like it's more frustrating. It seems like the vibe I get is there's way more frustration around Horizon falling short than something like Ghost falling short, even though they fall short in the same ways. Like they're both great games that aren't at that next masterpiece level, but like people get so like hung up on that for Horizon, which I just find weird because they're both.
I feel like I'm with you, and I hear
same.
the argument. I feel like that shines through more with Horizon because they've had a second go round now. Whereas I think Horizon Zero Dawn, we all were like, oh shit, fuck the Killzone guys. They did something great here. This is really cool and it's big. And yeah, it's got this problem or that problem. But it's like technically impressive. It's got this thing. The story's great. The performances are great. And then that year, you know, it loses all the Game of the Year awards because other things came along and were also equally great or better than that, right? And you go, oh man, no big deal. And so to get the second shot here and have it happen again, I think people are like, oh, so it's a mid franchise. Maybe it's not a mid game. And I'm saying mid again for a game that's an 8.5, a 9. You know what I mean? Like I'm not actually meaning mid, but I mean, oh, it's not that S tier like we're talking about. Whereas Ghost gets the one shot and everybody's like, oh man, the fucking Infamous guys made this game. And again, what I think's interesting is, you don't like the wind? They're calling that outright because of the argument that Zero Dawn, for as good as it is, still is a traditional open world game that had the same kind of mechanics. I feel, and I know I'm playing very fast and loose and using basically Twitter arguments here, but the idea that like Ghost in the moment to moment gameplay, not the skill trees and all that stuff, looked and felt a bit different, right? It had an art style I thought that was more than just, oh, it's gorgeous, which is Horizon, of course.
Yeah, and I think this also comes down to where PlayStation, where video games in general were at the time Horizon came out. I think Horizon Zero Dawn was probably the first game that came out with PlayStation first party, where it was, oh, this studio's like really redefining themselves. Oh snap, like this is a PlayStation like possibly 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10 game, right? Like Horizon Zero Dawn came out before Ghost, it came out before God of War 2018, it came out before Death Stranding, right? It came out before Days Gone, I guess, if you put Days Gone in the argument as well, right?
Now we're just naming games that came out.
This was before that wave of PlayStation games where, oh, now everything is going to be like inspired by The Last of Us, right? Or inspired by what Naughty Dog's doing. And I think Horizon being the first one of those, or one of the first one of those, puts in a different place of us playing it as a guerrilla game and going, oh my God, what a game. Like, oh my, and talking it up, right? Where you get to Horizon Forbidden West, and now we're playing a game that comes after God of War 2018, comes after Spider-Man in 2018, right? Comes after all these different PlayStation first-party games that have now done the same thing. And now it's less impressive because we've gotten all these games that are hitting that sort of level. And now it's easier to critique because we have things to put it up against too in the PlayStation first-party portfolio. And so I think that makes it tough as well. But I still, like, I wouldn't put Horizon Forbidden West as a 10 out of 10 by any means. But I do think that, like, it deserves to be in the conversation as far as like the great game, the great games.
I'm just trying to move the shit out of my way, and I keep knocking it around.
I think it belongs in the conversation, right? And I wish there was less of like the trepidation to like put it in that conversation.
And that's why I think it's an interesting pick for an underrated one.
Yeah,
where it is another one that I think is going to go around and get overshadowed by a lot of games.
I think if it was 2021, nobody would bat an eye about like Horizon being in the nominees for Game of the Year, right? And us talking about it of that ilk. I think it's mainly because we're in 2022 when we've gotten both Elden Ring and God of War Ragnarok, whereas now it's like, oh yeah, really? Like you're putting up Horizon in there, but it's like, yeah, like in any other year, Horizon would be in there because it's a great game.
Sure, thank you, Barrett. Barrett's coming to get the trash.
Thanks,
what a good
Barrett.
man. What a good producer, you know? Kevin, he would just laugh at me while I smash stuff
He
up.
brought you this stuff with Cool Greg.
Fuck, that's a great point.
Yeah.
Can't talk shit about him.
So you
Well, he's
can't
not in the
talk
room. He's not in the room. He can't hear what's happening. You know what I mean?
Take over here.
Yeah, you can grab pretty much all this stuff.
Well, Barrett busted some more stuff. Let's get another pick. And a recent one, which I thought was interesting and definitely an underrated game at KindaFunny. Big Bad Beluga comes in and says Marvel's Midnight Suns. Coming out at the tail end of the year in a genre none of the hosts are the most enthusiastic about, Midnight Suns is a treasure in a year full of phenomenal strategy games and a great first step into uncharted territory for Firaxis as they explore beyond their strict strategy roots. Didn't see that one coming, but I understand it again, like a game that's out here right now, and after the Game Awards cut off, not going to get anything there, and then you wonder if it'll come around next year, let alone the scores it's been getting. But nobody at KindaFunny fell in love.
I would say I think this is KindaFunny underrated, but like industry-wide, it seems like people are really digging Midnight.
But here's my thing, and I would throw this out there too, and Jan, I want your opinion. Have you seen Scuttlebutt on Twitter about it? And you're talking again, it's the reviewers again that I talked about, right? Where it's like, oh, they love XCOM, they love Firaxis, they're PC people. They came out, they played it, and they really like it. I have not seen the overwhelming conversation on Twitter.
I've seen a few.
I would agree with that.
I've seen like a few people tweet out about how they're enjoying it, but I think it might also be the thing of there's just a lot of games coming out, so the conversation is being split between that and Callisto Protocol and like Crisis Core and
different conversation about Callisto.
Oh,
and also award season, Like,
sure.
I feel like that takes up so much zeitgeist.
Yeah, man, I might put Callisto in this as well.
Long. So a lot of people, I've seen people tweet about being like, oh, what should I feel like I should want to check this out now that I've seen reviews, but it's like a fairly lengthy campaign, and there's, I think, a little bit of trepidation of whether or not you want to open up something that gigantic with like the year winding down, with that meaning people might have vacations, family time, if you're a content creator, like other content that you're trying to wrap up before the year is done. So think it did end up. It's awkward to drop a game that's that large this time of year because it doesn't really like fit super well. That being said, I don't know, maybe people will knock this out during holiday break and just kind of really dig into it. But that's kind of the conversation I've seen a bit around it. But I know that's also very industry specific, where I know people are going to be in the comments like, I love a game that's really lengthy and like, what, y'all don't want to just eat here forever? And I'm like, no, I don't. A lot of people have that hesitation.
Yeah, when people are like, oh man, I'm 75 hours in, I'm like, holy fucking
it's
shit.
It's like you didn't care about the wind, you know? It's like, all right. Relax.
The wind was great.
Another one I want. Good. Like I fuck with the wind. Like I don't think that I didn't fuck with the wind. It's just that the wind isn't enough. You know, like the wind's not enough.
I want to now just speed read through the other ones I put on here because I like them getting named, but I don't want to necessarily do it because we got more awards to do. Sherhuang a lot wrote in for Sifu. Hell yeah. Colton Simpson wrote in for the Returnal Ascension DLC. Which is an interesting pick, right? It adds co-op trophies, new story material, and a survival mode that surfaces its leaderboards in the same way that Astro's Playroom did. Like, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
They're like,
survival mode is awesome in Returnal Ascension. The co-op mode, I think, could have maybe made the game easier instead of harder. Because when I did the co-op mode with, I want to say it was either Stomach Mike or Andy, we were struggling. We were doing the race. It was like me and Mike versus I think Andy and Nick. And I swear to God, it made the game harder. I think probably because it splits the looting between two people, and so you're not upgrading as quickly.
Yeah.
And I think they also make the enemies harder, and so I think that might have taken down co-op a bit. But the tower is awesome.
Yeah. Then you had Joaquin wrote in for Ghostwire Tokyo, Carter for Norco, and then Ryan McNeil for Eno. Mutation, which I enjoyed and played for a few weeks there, or not few. I talked about it for a few weeks. Is like chipped away at it.
Same.
Enjoyed myself.
Like those first 3 hours.
Yeah, I never finished it, but I had a great time with it. Yeah. But now let's move on to best trophy list. Blessing, you put NA, you coward.
I this is not a category for me because I don't think I platinumed any game this year.
Sure.
Usually I try to do one a year, but I had a couple that I tried to go for, and then I just got distracted. Like, I almost got the plat for Miles Morales. I almost got the plat for the other game, that 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim.
Yeah.
And, like, I might do a stream or something where I'm, like, I go back and chase all the platinums that I've almost gotten.
Plattybird. Go get Plattybird.
But, oh, yeah, maybe I should get Plattybird. No, I'm not going to get Plattybird. But yeah, like I don't really have much to say about the trophy lists of this year.
Shut up, Janet. You and I are here because we love trophies and we love getting them. And I like how we are two sides of the same coin. I picked God of War Ragnarok, and you picked Horizon Forbidden West. Why'd you go with Forbidden West?
Like the robot animals, but also I love Horizon. Right? It's a fantastic game. Some would say it's underrated, and some wouldn't because that's everybody. That covers literally everybody. But genuinely, super fun. There's so much packed into this open world, and what I love the most about this trophy list is it doesn't require that you do everything. It's not super granular in terms of things like collectibles or the freaking scan. We got to line it up, but I don't know what the mountain ranges are or anything like that. Like, it's pretty achievable. The hardest thing probably in it is the melee pits, which you can also just turn the difficulty down, which I did have to do for the final one because the final one is super hard.
Yeah.
And one thing I really liked about this trophy list, and sort of, you can argue you get this anytime you take a more completionist look at a game, but being forced to like interact with more of the side content like the melee pits made me I think appreciate a little bit more what they were trying to do, or kind of see where this can evolve in the future. While when I did the core, my front to back playthrough of it for the review, I didn't engage a lot with the melee stuff because I didn't like it that much. And I still stand by it not being that good or having a lot of flaws, but it was cool to kind of like let me actually get to know this system in a deep way. And I loved it. I also cleared the map fog, even though you don't need to do that. And there's a slight sliver that you still can't get. But I think it's also like sits in my heart because I had COVID when I platinumed this, and this was just like, all right, I'm laying down because I want to try to rest, and I'm just gonna hunt some animals. And I got to make my own fun with, like, they have one that's like max your gear or something, and I got to pick okay, I want like an actual, I could just cheese this and get like the easiest gear, but I want to get the gear that I actually want to wear. So I think there's like a lot of fun and freedom to be had in little decisions like that. So yeah, fun platinum. Got this platinum. This is now like my platinuming franchise. I don't know how many more of these are gonna make, but I have the first one. I got this one.
Call them out.
We'll see what's next. Oh man.
Call them out, Janet. You got to do it.
I guess so, but I'm kind of scared. I don't know what platinuming in VR looks like. It's my first VR platinum, so we'll see. Why not?
Okay.
Sure.
Fair
I'm
enough.
calling it now. Let's do it. 2023, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's next.
February.
That's
Okay,
next,
I'll
yeah.
see you.
Yeah,
I'll
2
see you
months.
then. Well,
Alright.
that'll be on the list for next year.
For me, yeah, I went with God of War Ragnarok, and full disclosure, as review season has been an entire year, and I have a child. I haven't finished my God of War Ragnarok Platinum. I am working on it, but what I've enjoyed about it when I was grinding it was everything you just said about Horizon, right, Janet? Where it is, hey, they built this incredible world. They packed it full of stories. They've packed it all full of history. They've packed it all full of personal tales, whether it be from Mimir. We won't spoil anything from God of War Ragnarok. You know what I mean? There's a lot going on here, and a lot of it is very similar to 2018. But 2018 was another trophy, platinum trophy, I really loved getting. And so I think the fact that I love the game, I love the world so much. It is the reason, the reason I put it here, and I would put it above Horizon, right? Another platinum I was working on or meaning to get back to, is the fact that right now, after I platinum Callisto, and we get through whatever reviews we need to close out the year, that will be the Christmas break. It will be going, okay, cool, let's go into God of War Ragnarok's platinum. And it's one of those, I thought about it, I toyed with putting Callisto Protocol's platinum on here because I am really enjoying that, but I'm only enjoying it probably because of the glitched difficulty trophy, where it has that classic, hey, you want to beat the game on the hardest difficulty, that'll pop the trophy for you. And so I was able to cheese it, which then solved everything for me because now I'm just going through the Power Picks guide, getting all the collectibles, listening to all the audio diaries, having a great time. But if it was, hey, the ultimate difficulties here, I would have waited till New Game Plus in February and brought all my stuff back with me because I don't think I would have wanted to go out there and be underpowered for it and start it all over. But God of War Ragnarok is obviously just a fantastic game in general. Here you go. Barrett's throwing up my tweet if you're an audio listener from over the weekend. When I tweeted out, hey, everybody, Callisto Protocol's got a workaround. Here's how you do it. Everybody wanted, there was a lot of people, thank you very much for that, and a lot of people who were, you're a monster and you've ruined the sanctities of trophies. And I was like, you are just catching on to who I am if you think this is
you haven't been listening to Greg and the way he does stuff here.
Exactly. I like how Gary was like, yeah, this is
a
new
low for you.
And you're like, no, it's not. He did the
this
same
for
thing in
Kena.
Kena. He did it in Kena Bridge of Spirits too, and I will do it every
You
time.
always
I
find
can.
these.
Well, it's because, people will find these. It's one of those, like, when you put a dumb trophy in about difficulty, people are going to find it. And, the one and only, Blessing Adeoye Jr., challenged me the other day, and I haven't forgotten.
What was the challenge?
We watched the Last of Us trailer for HBO, and I was like, fuck, this makes me want to play Last of Us again. And you were like, I forget what it was. Oh, you'll pick out an outfit for me for something if I platinum it over a break or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought about it. Damn, do I want to do a platinum run of Last of Us right now?
Do it.
I do. I think I want to. But again, like now we're getting too ambitious because I'm saying I'm going to platinum Ragnarok over at Christmas break. I'm going to platinum Last of Us. I'm going to start The Witcher next gen. You and I keep talking about.
Yeah.
I'm going to play these other games that like Tinykin that I haven't played.
You got a lot of time this Christmas break.
Fuck you. The fuck I do. All right. But trust me, my 14-month-old son is not going to agree with you.
Greg,
in the middle
honestly,
I'm gonna pick up his sticks,
What's
man.
the worst he's going to do?
Prioritize God of War. Let you and me hold hands together over the break, and we'll try to do this.
How's your platinum run going? You've gotten off the review trains. You're just working on it, right?
Yeah, I finally got back because I was really sucked into Pokemon. I think it's like both Midgard and Svartalheim I have in like the high 90% completion, and like the only things that I haven't done there are like I need to be higher level, like I need to be like essentially level 9 to do those kind of things. So those are pretty much almost done. Started Vanaheim stuff last night, and it's going at a good pace. I know Vanaheim's going to get real big real soon for me in some areas that I did not explore yet. But
Sure.
yeah, I'm not feeling too overwhelmed about it. It's more of just figuring out of like, all right, where should I go first? Where's like the good loot and stuff, so I can go back and like do these other side quests where you have to fight really hard enemies and stuff like that.
Fair enough. A lot of people, of course, wrote in for the audience section complimenting God of War, but 3 I want to talk about. One comes from Roger B. from Wisconsin, who wrote in for Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. More interesting than the standard open world first party do and collect everything. Of course, we were talking about this in the car the other day, Barrett, right? Of like Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe is the original game, but it's also more. So
It's like added a lot of content.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like it's aware that it's like kind of like added content, and it's kind of a sequel in that way too. Again, I want to. That's one I'm
need to get back
play
to
over
it.
Break. Yeah.
Yeah, because I booted it up when it first came out, and I played quite a few run-throughs because it is like, you play and then you reach an ending, and then you play again and you reach a different ending, and you do different things in each playthrough to try and like figure out all the different ways it can go. And so I did like maybe 4 or 5 of those before I got distracted.
If you aren't familiar with Stanley Parable, of course, it's this puzzly game as you explore, and it gets very heady, and all these different things are happening in it. But their trophies, even the first time around, were very introspective. What they look like for Ultra Deluxe here as you look through them, right? Of course, there's the Platinum for getting them all. Complete the Stanley Parable, of course. But then it gets test trophy, please ignore. Test trophy description, replace this. So it's like, all right, well, what does that lead into, right? Welcome back, quit the game, and then start it again. You can't jump. No, seriously, we disabled it. Commitment. Play the Stanley Parable for the entire duration of a Tuesday. Click on the door 435 times. Click on the door 435 times. Don't play the Stanley Parable for 10 years. Like that was an original one too that they had for a long time. That of course you can cheese your clock and get it, but you can also go through and if you wanted, like the people who did in the original game, wait through and do that. So another quirky list out there. And then Michael wrote in and said Stray. Despite Ragnarok having a good balance of challenge and collectibles, and The Last of Us Part 1 refining a bad list from the PS3 game, I believe Stray knocked it out of the park with a great trophy list. Some lists rely too much on story-related or collectible trophies. Stray has it all. Collectibles, side missions, story, and miscellaneous. It truly is one of the best lists I've seen in quite some time. It does two things that trophy lists ought to do: encourage you to explore and play in different ways. Stray is a short game, but the trophy list packs it with enticing things to do. Sure, I can see that argument. I understand it. The two people that I want to yell at are Alex Booth and Eugene, who wrote in to say Cult of the Lamb. Are you fucking kidding me? Cult of the Lamb? The game where there's an individual trophy for beating each boss without taking a hit? No, thank you. A great trophy except for that kind of annoying shit.
That sounds like a skill issue.
You're goddamn right it is. Yeah. Do you notice me cheesing the Callisto difficulty? Cheesing the other one Barrett and I were talking about, Kana? Get that shit out of here. Let me enjoy the game and have fun and get a bunch of cult people.
Yeah, Platinums aren't about having skill. They're about not using your time better. You know, it's like, why play something else when I can play this more than I have before? That's what it's about.
Exactly. That's exactly what it's about. Best PlayStation Plus game is one of our other categories, and we'll get back to it, ladies and gentlemen, right after I tell you about patreon.com/kindafunny. Over on patreon.com/kindafunny, of course, you could get the show ad-free. You could be live like Banderas and the drink is hidden.
It's hidden.
Banderas and Cameron Kennedy and Joshy GR. Of course, on patreon.com/kindafunny, you can watch all of our podcasts live as we record them. You can get them all ad-free, and you can get 38 bonus episodes of exclusive content. However, you're not on patreon.com/kindafunny, so here's a word from our sponsor.
Shout out to Shady Rays for sponsoring this episode. Look how cool I look. You too can look this cool without breaking the bank this holiday season. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that gives you the features of $200 shades for a fraction of the price and a fraction of that price during their holiday sales. Shady Rays are premium polarized shades featuring world-class optical clarity, substantial durability, and styles catered to everyone and every lifestyle. If you lose or break your shades on day one, they told us that they will send you a brand new pair, no questions asked. Dropped in the lake, off a cliff, anything, they'll replace them. The lost and broken coverage transfers to anyone you gift them to. They'll get great polarized shades and protection no matter what happens to them in the future. They stand by their product and told our team that if anyone has a problem, they throw profit out the window and do what it takes to get it right. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is running their deepest deal of the season. Use code KINDAFUNNY for 50% off 2 or more pairs at shadyrays.com. Buy one, get one free. You can get 2 pairs for as low as $54 at shadyrays.com using the code KINDAFUNNY, where you can find all their newest and best shades. Shout out to Factor for sponsoring this episode. We all gotta eat, and sometimes having to prep that food is the one thing really getting in the way of your day. With the bustling holiday season well underway, ready-to-eat meal delivery can lend a helping hand. Factor shops, preps, cooks, and delivers to your door so you can enjoy chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals during the holidays minus the hassle. Plus, with 34 meals per week, including Gourmet Plus, Keto, Calorie Smart, Vegan Plus, Veggie, and 36 Plus weekly add-ons, you'll have plenty of nutritious, flavorful options to choose from. Factor's cheaper than dining out and takeout, plus the money you save towards holiday fun and you time. And thanks to Factor's commitment to ingredients with integrity, you can enjoy flavorful, chef-crafted meals, guilt-free like their creamy Parmesan chicken and 3-bean vegan chili. A ton of us here at Kinda Funny have been so thankful for Factor since we've been here in the new studio, and you can too. Head to go.factor75.com/kindafunny60 and use code KINDAFUNNY60 to get 60% off your first box. That's code KINDAFUNNY60 at go.factor75.com/kindafunny60 75.com/kindafunny60 to get 60% off your first box. Shout out to Rocket Money for sponsoring this episode. We all love gobbling up content, and we have an understanding of what subscriptions we use, or do we? Do you know how much your subscriptions really cost? Most Americans think they spend around $80 a month on subscriptions, when the actual total is closer to 200 plus. That's right, you could be wasting hundreds of dollars each and every month on subscriptions you don't even know about. There's this app we love using that takes care of that for us, and it is called Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill. The app shows all of your subscriptions in one place and then cancels for you whatever you don't still want. Rocket Money can even find subscriptions you didn't know you were paying for. You may even find out you've been double charged for a subscription. You can get rid of useless subscriptions with Rocket Money now. Go to rocketmoney.com/kindafunny. Seriously, it could save you hundreds per year. That's rocketmoney.com/kindafunny. Cancel your unnecessary subscriptions right now at rocketmoney.com/kindafunny.
Now, I got
What's that drink again?
What was that?
What's the drink again?
Lemon clouds. I got Labor Days, and I got Labor Days, and Keegan, and Matthew, and Joshy, and a whole bunch of other trogs in there saying the forny thing, because I said kind of forny.
Kind of fornication.
I am a 12th of the way through this drink. All right, it's gonna be a long show, a long fucking show. If you want to keep throwing this in my face, all right.
Just chuck it, Greg.
Huh?
Just chug it.
No, Jesus Christ, no, God. How's yours?
It's warmed up. It's warmed up to me. I enjoy it. I like it.
Has it gotten better, or have you just gotten a little drunker, so now you don't care?
You know,
Who's to say? Who's to say? Game Awards starts
say?
now. It's fine.
Because that's the thing. At a certain point, you're like, this doesn't taste like anything anymore. You know, can't feel my face right now.
Best PlayStation Plus game of the year. Janet, what did you pick?
I went with Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, which dropped July 2022 to PlayStation Plus. Admittedly, this is a lot of just going through each month and being like, what's the hottest thing I can find? And
Sure.
I do genuinely think Crash 4 is, you know, it's weird to say it's underrated because I don't think it is necessarily, like, you know, critically, but it's the game that I'm begging everyone to play if they like platformers. It is so good. And especially if you're open to a challenging platformer. And again, Crash does such a great thing that I personally like in difficulty, where just completing the game is not too bad. There's still definitely some challenges, but you can get through it if you just want to finish it. But if you're trying to get like all the boxes that you can, or if you're trying to go for like certain collectibles, or whatever your goal that you make for yourself is, it allows space for that, and it creates a compelling challenge within that. I think it controls super well. We got the shadow underneath, which is like a must-have in freaking any platformer, honestly, at this point. And this hits so hard. I was very hesitant to go into this because I did not like, even though like I'm pretty sure different teams and stuff, I didn't like the Crash Insane trilogy.
Sure.
It was a little too hard in the slipperiness. Like even to the old, like I booted up the old games and I like those better than the remaster or the remake or whatever. So I was kind of like, maybe me and Crash, it's over, you know, maybe we run our course. But this was so fun, and I think it has so many great little tropes that you see if you're a hardcore platformer fan. You've seen these a million times, things like, ooh, this inverts the gravity, and like little stuff like that, or like this freezes time. And I think it plays with those in such a cool way. Look at these, like if you're watching the video version, the level designs are crazy. There's some fun, like trippy character, multiverse kind of energy to it. It's just so freaking fantastic. And when this dropped, I was like, please everyone go play this. So if you're listening and you have not played it yet, go play it. I also watched shout out to Gerard for aka the completionist. Like he did a completionist run of it, and I saved that for when I beat the game, because I'm like, I'm not going to do all that work, but he did that work, and I got to watch him suffer through those challenges. That was quite fun as well.
Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time was one of those I was not excited for. Tim was super excited for at launch. And, you know, it came out, rave reviews. I was never a Crash person. And I spent 2 or 3 nights with it when I finally got it. It was surprised by how much fun I had with it. And it was actually enjoyable. But the problem was I was getting hung up on, I didn't want to advance the levels till I'd done everything in the levels. And then whatever review I needed next came around. But in terms of a PlayStation Plus game, big seal of approval in terms of a great one to play there.
And a real quick shout out, because I played this way. They have I've done plenty of single player games with 2 people, like just pass the controller, but they have that baked into the game, and you can choose like how you want to, and it tells you like when to pass the controller. So you can do it per death, you can do it per checkpoint. So me and my brother played that way, and then it gives your individual stats at the end as well. So again, kind of a deep cut because you have to have someone in your house to do that. I don't know if it has online capabilities for that feature, but it was super fun to do. So if you happen to live with another gamer who's down to go through that with you, it's super enjoyable to like have that back and forth baked in. It's like such a modern like angle on a very old school idea. It's just a blast and a half.
Mine should come as no surprise if you watched the PlayStation Awards from last year here on PS I Love You XOXO. I chose Toem. Came out September 2022. An adorable little game Janet and I loved last year, and the fact that you could go and get it for free this year and play it and go through this, gorgeous little black and white game, animated so well, so adorable, so cute. Take photos, try to get to the event known as Toem or whatever. How the game ends is super cute, super cool. Of course, Portillo's in the game, so that's neat. But in general, even if Porty wasn't in the game, I just had a great time with Toem the first time I played it and thought it was such a fun, refreshing, relaxing experience as you go through and do these little puzzles and figure out how to advance and change the landscape and use your camera to get the new diving helmet and go through whatever you're up to. Like, it was an adorable, fun one that last year I felt like I could not get enough people to care about. And so the fact that it was PlayStation Plus, I hope everybody downloaded it in September.
Hell yeah.
Bless, what'd you pick?
This one was a little bit difficult for me because for me, when I think of PlayStation Plus titles that stick out, usually they're the ones
you think
that
of premium tier.
Yeah,
we need to think. You need to think about maybe essential.
I mean, of course.
He's thinking about PlayStation Plus.
No, usually I think of the games that feel like they're being dropped as an event, right? Like for me, I think of games like Bug Snacks, where it's, oh yeah, day and day. Oh man, this is a game that's new on the platform. Let's play it, and we all talk about it because it's part of PlayStation Plus, right? And I feel like PlayStation Plus has been doing that less as the years have gone on.
When I went through the games for this year, right, it definitely felt like that. It definitely felt like we weren't seeing the what was that puzzle? Or maquette?
Yeah, the maquettes of the world.
Right?
Even the Destruction All Stars, which I know didn't light the world on fire, but is a game that did come out day and date, right? And was advertised and was part of the PlayStation showcase that they did, right? Like, stuff like that is why I like PlayStation Plus, and we've been missing out on that this year. But with that, we have gotten games like Neo 2 came out recently, and I think that was well timed because next year we're getting Wolong Fallen Dynasty, which is from the same devs, and that looks like it's to be like a successor to the Neo franchise, and I'm excited for that, right? And so I did start playing Neo 2 because of that. But one I want to shout out is Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, which came in June. And that dropped alongside an update for the game, which added voice acting, which added more items and a bunch of new features. And for me, again, that is why I come to PlayStation Plus, right? That is why, or that is the thing that I think that's an exciting opportunity that you can have with PlayStation Plus is to go, hey, like, we're going to put our game on here, but let's time this with a big update. Let's time this with a thing that's going to bring a bunch of people in. But I don't think that's actually going to be my winner for this category, because I just realized, Barrett mentioned, or it was you that mentioned PlayStation Plus Premium, which reminded me that Stray actually came out as a PlayStation Plus title, technically.
A lot of people wrote in for Stray.
And so I think my final answer is actually going to be Stray, because I think Stray was probably the most fun I had with the PlayStation Plus title. And also I think it checks the boxes of what I want from PlayStation Plus. Now especially that PlayStation Plus has evolved, right? Like, it's no more just the PlayStation Plus Essential tier. There's now 3 tiers to it. And with that, right, with the growth of PlayStation Plus, I've been wanting it to be hey, let's explore these different tiers, right? Let's find ways in which we can add these day and date titles or these really cool indie games to PlayStation Plus in different ways. And I think Stray is an example of what I would want more out of the extra tier, right? The second tier, which is, like, you've been hyping up Stray for a year and a half, for multiple years at this point. All right, cool. Yeah, let's drop it on PlayStation Plus and get more people into it and advertise the extra tier, right? Like, that's what I wanted to see from Rollerdrome. That's what I'd like to see from Little Devil Inside.
I hate to interrupt you, but you have been disqualified in the Trog chat. The Portland Kevin says extra doesn't count for me, and Bless's opinion is DQ'd. And Janet was there to back him up,
I feel like the agreement was essentials.
I mean, I'm looking at the title of the category here. It says Best PS Plus Game. That's where it ends. And so,
I mean, it's up to the user to really go up with them. It's the Portland Kevin saying it. It's not me. Portland Kevin's the one over there.
Okay, I see. Who's typing? Is that Janet typing?
I'm also looking at the document here, and it's saying Best PS Plus Essential Game.
It looks like Janet just typed that. It looks like Janet just typed that in.
In the past, we've always done it of looking at the games that are,
But in the past, there wasn't a tiered system.
I mean,
PlayStation Plus has evolved. It's like a Pokemon.
That's my argument, is that PlayStation Plus has evolved.
Well, I think this should have been a conversation beforehand if you're going to drastically change what this
We got the drinks on
Did
the
I
show.
drastically change it, or did PlayStation drastically change it? Because in the years past,
PlayStation drastically changed it by changing almost nothing, and instead of getting a good game on PS Essential, now you have to pay for extra to get good games. That's what the change is.
In years past, the category has always been Best PS Plus game
for Best PS Plus game.
Is this PlayStation Now or is this PS Plus? I think it's PS Plus.
Plus. Well, PS Now is now PS Plus.
I'm looking at the ruling here, and
Good
yeah,
user,
it seems like
good
it's
user. We'll
DQ'd.
leave it up to you. Yeah, depending on how you define PlayStation Plus, you can either take Blessing's pick of Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl from June 2022 or Stray. That's how you.
Better take it. This is the only time I'm going to mention Stray on this podcast.
I think it's coming up later.
No, it's not. Yeah. It
When
comes
they
up
were
all the
like,
time.
there's a user category submitted that's biggest disappointment, and Janet was laughing because I put like 19 things in there, and let me tell you,
Yeah.
Stray was there for sure. Again, we asked you what the best PS Plus game was. We didn't say essential back then. George Powell wrote in and said the Mass Effect collection. Bruh, it's Mass Effect 1 through 3.
Good argument.
Great argument. Great argument on that one. Sir Huang a lot says Neo 2. Never gave it a chance until it was on PlayStation Plus, and it's a nice improvement from Neo. Robert Yates wrote in and said, Yakuza Like a Dragon. A great game that was new to a lot of PlayStation Plus users. God of War may be the best PlayStation Plus game this year. Remember, 2018 came to PlayStation Plus this year. But I would wager most users had already played it by this point. Janet, you played Yakuza this year, correct? Like a Dragon?
Yeah, I'm still working on it, actually. But yeah, it's a fantastic game. And I think if you're like me and you don't do a lot of RPGs because they're very long, I think this is still one worth playing. Like, I think what's most impressive to me about this game is how good the writing is. Like, it's very off the wall and jokey, but also very heartfelt at different times. And I think they play with those two flavors very well. And also the side content is incredible. Like, every mini game, every side quest, like all of it hits, and all of it is so fun to do. And the combat system also just like hits like crazy. The turn-based mechanics and the job system, like it is a game that I have very few notes for. Yeah, Yakuza Like a Dragon, go play it.
Okay. Colton wrote in and said, Slay the Spire. Easy to pick up and play, difficult to master. Slay the Spire is a welcomed addition to my PlayStation Plus library after years of seeing its popularity amongst my friends who play on PC. For the better part of a month, I'd pick this one up every day to give it a run or two. A great game for podcasts as well.
This is one of the few PlayStation Plus titles, PlayStation Plus Essential titles that I played this year as well. And Slay the Spire is pretty fun. And so if you redeemed it and haven't given it a shot, you should check it out.
And then Michael wrote in and said, Deep Rock Galactic. Rock and Stone, everyone. Deep Rock Galactic is one of the hidden gems of a game. It has a good amount of replayability with different mission types, 4 different classes, and a bevy of support from the devs. In my opinion, this game was snubbed for Best Ongoing Game nomination at the Game Awards. Similar to you with Slay the Spire, this is one I played on PlayStation Plus this year. We had heard so much about it. I grabbed it there. I tweeted about it. Everybody responded with Rock and Stone because their community is out there. It's very large. We streamed it. We had fun with it. I can see why people would be super into it, of going off on these missions, going off to gather your resources and come back and do it. It was cute. It's a first-person game, but like didn't hold me forever, but a good thing to jump in. And again, we were talking about a game you need to play with other people. That's where PlayStation Plus comes in, right?
100%.
Then, Best Studio.
Now, is this Best Studio or Best PlayStation Studio? Since we want to just add rules to these things.
Well, calm down. I think
we want to
change
up the titles.
Strawberry
No,
Lane.
it's good that
rules,
we're
or are
talking.
you
It's good that we're
willfully
talking
misinterpreting?
about the rules of things.
It's Best Studio that put out a PlayStation game.
Okay.
So you're fine. Don't worry about it. All right. I, of course, picked Sony Santa Monica. I think God of War Ragnarok obviously is a masterpiece. I think they had an incredible year. I think the fact that they came out this year, that was another big part where we were like, we could easily see this one slipping and not hitting. The fact that they were able to not crumble under the pressure of following up God of War 2018. The fact they, I think, made it bigger, better. They expanded God of War. Like, back to Janet's commentary from before, I don't have many notes on God of War Ragnarok, right? Like, I think they didn't reinvent the wheel. I don't think they needed to, but they made it interesting to play with that wheel again. Am I wrong, Janet?
No, and I chose this partially because it's a PlayStation Studio, and I thought that was also a requirement. But I think even without that, like God of War Ragnarok is my game of the year. And I think in terms of when I think about the impact on PlayStation, Sony Santa Monica has had the biggest of that and the most positive from this calendar year. So for me, Santa Monica was the easy pick.
Blessing? Do you want to make it unanimous?
No, I do not. No, my pick is.
Does ever want to make it?
Hates us.
My pick is From Software. It's the other side of the coin, right? Of the fact that like when you ask a lot of people what is game of the year this year, right? I think either they're gonna say Elden Ring or they're gonna say God of War Ragnarok. And yeah, like I think in the way that what was it last year? It could have been the year before last year or both, right? Where we talk a lot about Insomniac as a studio and how they just keep putting out games and their games keep being quality and they are the PlayStation MVP. From Software in a similar sort of way, right? Like the amount of output that they have at the level of quality that they have is mind blowing, and I don't know how they do it. Right? It is Sekiro, wins Game Awards Game of the Year in 2019. Right? A few years before that, you're getting Dark Souls 3. A few years before that, you're getting Bloodborne. Right? And like each of their games seemingly hit to a level where it's like, oh man, this is one of my favorite games ever. Like Sekiro and Bloodborne, both are games that I played in the last couple of years, and both those games have infiltrated my list of favorite games ever. And Elden Ring is in that category as well, right? And like for me, the thing that really solidifies them as like studio of the year is that they put out a game that I would say is like pushing the medium forward in terms of game design, what they're doing with open world and what they're doing with open world design. And like, Elden Ring was a game that by the time I got 50 hours in, 60 hours in and kept going, I was constantly blown away by like what they're able to accomplish, right? It was that constant feeling of, man, I can't believe they did this. Yeah, I can't believe they've like put this much detail and this much content and this much quality and all the content into this game. And so yeah, for me, I'd say they've blown my mind as a studio this year, and I think they've earned it.
For the audience picks, it was pretty split. Or I shouldn't say split. It was pretty much a runaway for Sony Santa Monica with From Software right behind them for From Software. Colton wrote in for Sony Santa Monica and said, 4 words, God of War Ragnarok. They aren't on the same level as Naughty Dog to me just yet, and I believe the game is just a hair shy of feeling a true next-gen experience, but dang, did it feel good to return to Kratos and Atreus' adventure after a 5-year wait. Meanwhile, Tyler Gallant wrote in, said, From Software, I mean, it's Elden Ring, come on. The game just reinvented what it means to be an open-world game and made what could be many people, including me, game of the generation. Sony specific? It's Sony Santa Monica. So those were the picks. I was surprised a lot of Insomniac's still in there, though, in terms of best studio, where people are just like, they're still awesome. There's, you know what I mean?
They're still out there working on stuff. They're making Spider-Man
not
too.
so much about what they're putting out this year in 2022, right? But just in general, who they are. And what
I want to give a shout out to Soul Clap as well as a studio, right? As a studio that I think leveled up this year and putting out Sifu and like putting out a game that for many of us we will put in our favorite game of the year conversation. And as a studio that now I think is on the map, and I, along with, I'm sure Tim and so many people here at KindaFunny now can't wait for whatever they do next, right? Like they are on our radar as a studio. And so shout out to Slow Clap as well.
Our final category from us before we get to your categories, ladies and gentlemen, was Best PlayStation Exclusive. And I won't make you wait. This one was unanimous, God of War Ragnarok. And I don't think that surprises anybody because the audience wrote in and it was all God of War Ragnarok. Keegan wrote in and said, God of War Ragnarok achieved what most games rarely do, create a compelling sequel that improves and excels in every aspect. Liam wrote in and said, the quality bar that is set by this game, the narrative, graphics, gameplay, world design, audio design, you name it. This is PlayStation at its finest. It's the pinnacle of what is available on the platform. It shouldn't exist. It should have fallen short given what came before, but we are lucky they crafted such an outstanding and beautiful game. It's the easy answer, but damn, is it the right one? And then Brandon K. Gone writes in and says, for building upon one of the greatest games of all time without sacrificing anything. Plus, my biggest reason for it being my game of the year are spoilers, but the game, the game has always made me feel strongly no matter what I was doing. It's that thing of like, I think this is the most boring pick on the page, right? Because it's just,
I mean,
God of War Ragnarok.
Part of me wanted to put like The Last of Us Part 1 because The Last of Us it is one of my favorite games ever, right?
Sure,
and technically, The Last of Us Part 1 by extension is one of my favorite games ever. But I think when we're talking about a brand new release and something that set the world on fire, right? Like something that took over. I think God of War Ragnarok, the moment that it's having right now and that it's been having for the last month is, it's had an incredible release for a game that had to follow up an incredible release in 2018.
Yeah, 100% right. Yeah. God of War, fantastic, right, Janet?
Yep.
Perfect. Now we wrote it like we said.
The only true award given because it's the only one we all agreed on.
Yeah, exactly. We asked you, ladies and gentlemen, to write in with your categories for us to try to quiz us to get you stuff there. Alan wrote in and said, best open world of the year. Blessing, what'd you pick?
I picked Elden Ring once again. It's the best open world game that I've played since Breath of the Wild. It is incredible. I think the open world design is incredible. The amount of boss encounters, boss design, like all that stuff is incredible. Like it's an open world that, for me, I equate it to pretty much any like landmark open world title that I've run into growing up and playing video games, where it makes me feel something. It makes me like redefine the way I look at games, right? Like I think of when I played GTA for the first time on PS2, and I'm like, what the fuck? Games can be open, right? And then like it goes on, and I find Fallout 3, and I'm like, oh my god, like I can't believe there's this much content in this game, right? I go on, I play GTA 5, and that flows into Witcher 3, and that flows into Breath of the Wild, and I think Elden Ring for me is the next step of, wow, like I really hope a lot of people take influence from Elden Ring in terms of how they go about, letting you roam, letting you explore the world in the way you want, right? Letting you run into all these different creatures, letting you create builds the way you want, right? There's so much choice and customization in the way you approach that game, and for me, like everything about it is open, which is what I appreciate about an open world game, and so that's my pick.
Janet, you and I both picked Horizon Forbidden West. Why'd you pick that over God of War?
I don't really think of God of War as an open world game.
Go anywhere you want. Go do whatever you do.
I would almost classify God of War as more of almost as like a Metroidvania more so than an open world game.
It's wide linear, except that term never caught on, so we don't use it. Pretty much that's the problem with that. Like people tried to make it happen, and it didn't stick. So now we just don't have a way to explain what those games are. But yeah, like it doesn't really. I mean, I'm sure if I want to be nitpicky, you could definitely make an argument that's an open world game, but I don't consider it to be one because of the way that stuff opens up and interconnects. I feel like the opening of those areas is a very linear opening. Well, like in Horizon, for instance, or I guess Elden Ring, I assume as well, right? You can go from like the front to like the end pretty much. Like you don't need, it just wouldn't make sense to do that because like you're not very strong, so it wouldn't be a fun time. But you could do it. You can like go wherever you want. And God of War isn't constructed in that way. It's like you have these open areas that are sort of stitched together to make the kind of patchwork that is God of War Ragnarok. So that's why I picked Horizon. Ultimately, it's not necessarily because I think Horizon is, on that level to like how Bless feels about Elden Ring, where it's one of the best or innovating or pushing the boundaries. It's just it's a very well made open world game in a very high quality game, and for me, that's why I ended up with this pick. But what about you, Greg? Did you consider God of War at a certain point?
Not really. I was just stirring up shit because I know people ask about it.
Sure.
And it does come down to a really interesting conversation of what is open world and what is open zone and what is whatever. I like Isaiah in the chat here. Can it be open world if you have to wait for sections to open up? It's a great question. But of course, Ghost of Tsushima, that's an open world, right? When you have to wait for sections of the island to open up.
I think also with Ghost of Tsushima is all one map as opposed to like God of War is separate.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not making the actual argument. I picked Horizon Forbidden West, and I did it because it was the most fun open world to explore, I felt, for me this year. Where it was, I love how beautiful that is. I love the side quests and stories that are packed into it. I do love that feeling of coming over a ridge and being like, okay, well, what is the next robotic monster I'm about to fight? What is the next, ancient now landmark I know that I'm about to find, right? Like, as we've talked about before, but to rehash an old story, like, doing the stream on a launch day with it where I'd already beaten it and we were screwing around the Golden Gate Bridge and I was like, oh man, Alcatraz would be over there, and I forget who I was, and there won't be anything there, and we swam out there and sure as shit there was something out there that indicated like, oh yeah, this is where that's awesome. That's what I want from an open world. I want to be rewarded for going off the beaten path just on a whim, like I used to be in GTA. When GTA was at its finest, I guess.
1000%. Also, GTA, another game that sections off areas of the map.
Sure.
At least the older ones.
The bridges, yeah. The bridges I'll have to get restored.
But also, I think our definition of open world has evolved as the mediums evolved. Like, there are games that would have been called open world when they came out that no one would call open world. Like, I feel like Jet 2 had some of that conversation around it as well. Well, it's not really an open world. It's just a city with little areas you can go to. By the time, it's like, whoa, is this so... You can, travel to all these places.
Yeah, and some people in the live chat are talking about like Sonic Frontiers and me not nominating for Sonic Frontiers. Mm-hmm. A game that is unequivocally better than Elden Ring. No, don't
say that. Don't do that to yourself, Bless.
I wouldn't consider that open world. Also, like I would. I know they throw around the open zone buzzword, and like I roll my eyes at it a little bit, but also like it is just open levels. Like Mario Odyssey is an open world. And like Mario, I would put Sonic Frontiers in that category of like has levels, but the levels are open and you explore them.
David Pivito wrote in to KindaFunny.com/PSILY, just like you can, and says the game you most want a sequel to. On this one, I picked Cult of the Lamb. I really, really loved Cult of the Lamb, but it was missing something. And I don't know if I'm smart enough to put my finger on it exactly, but it was a great, solid experience that I really, really enjoyed and I really did love. And I reviewed it on PC, and I've thought multiple times about starting a PlayStation 1. But there was just some part of, I think, heart that was missing to it that I thought would have pushed it a little further. So many people wanted it to be, a dungeon crawling Animal Crossing, but the world you're building, your actual hub world you're doing, it wasn't like Animal Crossing. It wasn't that I was building it out for fun and for design purposes. I was building it out for utility to get the most out of my cultists as possible. And I think there's something there to maybe lessen that, to make it more encouraging, to make it your own and make it beautiful. It was like, weeks after launch where the Cult of the Lamb Twitter account or somebody was putting up like, do this to really design your world. I was like, who would ever design this thing? Like, it's just a torture chamber of tents I've put up of trying to get these people to do what I want them to do.
I would design it.
Right? Did you design yours? Did you make it?
I still haven't spent technically a lot of time with the game. I only played it for like 4 hours, but I have like one of the codes I got, because I got like the little plushies from the Devolver had sent me over, and it came with like a card that was like, you can redeem this giant, like, it's like a giant stuffed animal of the lamb. And I was like, when I found out that that's what it was, I was like, holy shit, that's gonna be awesome. And again, it is, to your point, it is very much like utilitarian set dressing, where it's like, okay, well, it happens to have a look, but it's really about the function. But yeah, like, I don't even know what the function of that is, but I want it and I'm excited to have it, and type in my little code on Steam and put it in there. So yeah, but I would love to see, to your point, them do more with that element, because that probably is one of my favorite aspects of the game, of just kind of designing it and watching what happens to the little cultists as they try to survive.
Janet, what did you pick for a sequel you'd like to see?
I really wasn't sure what to pick for this. I went with Escape Academy.
Oh yeah,
kind of a lazy pick on my book, but I would love more of it if they announced a sequel. To quote Bless, like, I'd pop for that, right? Like, I'd be excited for Escape Academy 2. I think it's fairly easy to set up, because they can either build on the story they've established, or just have like a new class of students or a different academy, or there's plenty of directions they can go in. And yeah, I love this game. I had listed it earlier as my underrated game for the year, and I'd love to see more of it. Obviously, again, there is DLC, which I do plan to play with Isaiah, who's in the chat. Shout out to Isaiah. But a new game, I'm a lot more likely to dig into a new game than I am DLC, even though I will play this. And new game is inherently like bigger and a more of an opportunity, I think, to take the learnings from that first one and evolve on the second one. And I would totally be fine with it just being completely iterative, because I just want more puzzles.
Bless.
Yeah, and a similar review talking about something was missing in Cult of the Lamb, and you would love to see more of it. I feel the same way about Rollerdrome, where Rollerdrome was a game that, as I was playing it, I was having a blast with, and by the time I put it down, I was like, all right, that was really fun, but I don't know if it's in my top 10 for the year. We were talking about this recently. I assume it was on the last episode of PSW, because I think Janet was part of the conversation of like, somewhere toward the end of Rollerdrome, not even the end, somewhere toward the second half of Rollerdrome, when the difficulty really starts to amp up, the way in which the difficulty amped up was in a way that I don't love, because it felt a little bit more messy as opposed to design difficulty. And I think a lot of that comes down to the stickiness of the way in which enemies lock onto you, and now you are stuck doing dodge roll after dodge roll, and then like trying to aim at the enemies and like take them out while doing dodge rolls while trying to do tricks. I feel like it got messy in the second half in a way that could be really refined in the sequel. But I do think that the core mechanics and the core gameplay of Rollerdrome is so good that I think it would be a shame if they didn't follow up on it and really went hard with the sequel, right? Like, I want to see even more story. I want to see even bigger arenas. I want to see more interesting objectives. I think in virtually every part of Rollerdrome, there's room for improvement that can make it into a really special game, even though this one, the current Rollerdrome, is even though it is really fun, even though I would consider it somewhat excellent. I think there's I think they can go way further with it, and so I would love to see a sequel for Rollerdrome.
Keegan Green writes in to kindafunny.com/PSILY, just like you can, and says, best accessibility in a PlayStation game. Now, of course, a whole bunch of PlayStation games this year roll out a suite of accessibility options. And we've talked about them here and there, but whenever we actually want to have an in-depth conversation, we reach out to one man, Steve Saylor, the blind gamer. So I hit up Steve and I said, hey, Steve, you get this category all to yourself, the best accessibility in a PlayStation game. And here's what he had to say.
Hi guys, Steve Saylor here. Thanks so much for allowing me to be able to do this. This is one of those times where you get a message from Greg Miller asking you to do a thing, so you slap on a suit to look pretty and you talk about accessibility on PlayStation for the PS I Love You Video Game Awards. I don't know what you're calling it. Could be that, could not be, whatever. Anyway, I'm actually going to break the rules because I was asked to talk about the most accessible game on PlayStation for 2022. I'm actually going to do two categories. That's right. I'm doing two. because I wanted to talk about one game in particular. I'm actually going to give the award for the most improved accessibility on PlayStation. I'm going to give it to Arcane's Deathloop. This year, we actually received quite a few updates on games that we've played before that haven't had a lot of accessibility built in when they first launched, and I want to give that award to Deathloop because when it first came out, it was a game that had some accessibility, but not a lot. But this year, they were able to release a massive update that actually made it a lot more accessible for disabled players to be able to play, including myself. I've now been able to complete Deathloop, and I absolutely love it. And I totally understand the reasons why everyone loved it when it first came out. Now I actually been able to get it so that yes, this is now an accessible game that I recommend. Now, as far as the most accessible game for 2022 on PlayStation, this was tough because there are obviously two games that basically could be talked about. We've got The Last of Us Part 1 Remake and God of War Ragnarok. Now, Last of Us Part 1 Remake had a lot of accessibility that was put over from Last of Us Part 2, and it basically made it so that anyone who has never been able to play The Last of Us 1 before, due to some lack of accessibility somewhere, now they're able to play it and have a seamless experience from going from Part 1 into The Last of Us Part 2. And then you have God of War Ragnarok, which is an improvement over the 2018 version. When I remember, I actually reviewed the 2018 version of God of War for accessibility, and it wasn't great. There was a lot of improvements that I'd hoped would be able to happen in some update later on, but it never really did happen. Lo and behold, they actually were just basically focusing on Ragnarok and improving a lot of the accessibility. Now, a lot of people will look at God of War Ragnarok and see that they were able to copy a lot of Last of Us 2 accessibility and integrate that into God of War Ragnarok. And that's not the case. They actually were able to take the 2018 engine and really break it down and in some cases build it up from scratch just to be able to add accessibility into God of War, but still keeping it familiar for those who have played the game previously. So with that in mind, it was hard for me to be able to kind of decide between the two because they're so good. But in the end, I have to give it to God of War Ragnarok. Reason why that won over The Last of Us Part 1 Remake is I feel that there was some things that they were able to do that surpassed what Naughty Dog did for the Last of Us series. But not to say that there are definitely areas of improvement. They both have areas of improvement. But I think in regards to creating a whole experience, not only just in a storyline setting, but also in a first time for a long time, at least make an almost open world accessible to disabled players. That is actually kind of rare. Only Ubisoft has been able to attempt to be able to make an open world accessible, and even then, they still have yet to be able to reach what God of War Ragnarok was able to do. So, for the most accessible or the best accessible game of 2022 on PlayStation, I'm giving it to God of War Ragnarok. Thanks, y'all, for allowing me to do this. Have fun, and yeah. Looking forward to be able to watch this thing when it goes live. Yay! All right. Okay. Bye.
Bye, Steve. Thank you so much, of course, for doing that.
That was adorable.
It's amazing. Well, again, Steve, legitimately, I just texted him this morning, and I was like, what are you doing right now? He's like, I just finished filming something. What's up? I'm like, I need you to, if you want to, take this as long as you want. And I didn't even tell him to put on the suit coat. He just knew to do it. And I was like,
oh, wow.
That's a pro right there. That's a
this
pro.
This is
right
next level of content from Steve.
It's too bad we got to throw out his picks because he called God of War an open world.
No, what did he call it?
He said almost open world. I just slapped y'all about that. I'm like, not open world confirmed.
Kind of a Metroidvania.
That's what we said about the first one, I think. And
thank you, Steve. Everybody keep up with Steve's work over at Steve Saylor on
or
Twitter or SteveSaylor.net to see what the blind gamer Steve Saylor is all about and what he is up to as he continues to push accessibility. And congratulations to both Deathloop and God of War Ragnarok then. I like the Deathloop nod. I'm like, hey, you might not have been paying attention. They did all this cool stuff. I'm like, I did not notice that. Thank you very much, Steve. Sir Hog a lot. I've been switching it up as I go, but I feel like
I saw that.
I feel like some of the
because before you said Sir Wang a lot.
Well, it's like at one point I think he spelled it differently, or maybe it's.
I don't think he did.
Maybe it's a different Sir.
Because you said it.
When
and I
I'm
was reading
drinking
it.
lemon clouds from across the fucking street, all right. Whatever I say is whatever his goddamn name is. Anyways, Sir Hog a lot. Best gaming moment / scene. This is a tough one.
This should have just been like best God of War moment. I feel like as a category.
That's the one I picked. No spoilers. I picked the one before the battle. The night before the battle. If you know, you know. Janet, what'd you pick?
No spoilers. I picked which I've nodded to before, the very beautiful scene where it's like so beautiful, almost moved to tears. You'll know it when you get there. I don't think you can confuse it with anything once you beat it.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of what it is. There's so many beautiful scenes.
Is it the one I quote all the time?
I don't think so, but I'm not hanging out with you.
Is
all
it
the
the
time,
one with
so.
the very bombastic music at the near the very, very end of that game?
Maybe.
Okay.
It's a thing. I mean, if you're
Mine
there
is-
and you meet somebody, and then you're like, this is a person. Maybe, yeah, and then you keep
Okay.
going, you keep playing. Yeah.
Okay. Mine would shout out is the scene that you go to after the kind of like half credits, and it's the scene right before
Okay.
the full credits.
Okay.
I tweeted about that this morning because I've been listening to the Ragnarok soundtrack, and the music that they made, I feel like specifically for that scene that calls back to the kind of Svartalfheim music in general is very beautiful and very heartbreaking, whereas the Svartalfheim music is very whimsical and fun. And then the way that they're able to kind of recontextualize that for a very somber scene before the full credits play, it's very beautiful. And just kind of the last thing that's said in that game really just kind of puts a pit in your heart.
I wanted to do something non-God of War because I knew there was gonna be a lot of God of War in this category. But it's been tough to narrow down because like part of me wants to shout out the moment in Dying Light 2 where partway through halfway through that game, there's like a villain turn. There's like a twist.
I remember you went, oh shit.
Yeah, like I recorded
Oh my
my
god, that
I
was
recorded
probably
the video.
We should have for next year. We should do like best PlayStation message you received, because like I only messaged you guys, and yeah, like Blessing sent me over that video, and it's like one of my favorite videos. And when Isaiah got to that part, I was like, he had a similar reaction, and I was like, here's the video of Blessing
because it comes out of nowhere and like it's so hyped for a game that ultimately isn't that hyped, but like it happens.
It's
and I'm like,
so good.
I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now? And I'm like going, oh shit. So shout out to that moment in Dying Light 2. I don't think that's my ultimate choice, but like as a less like overstated one, right? Like as one that was very, I would describe as a special moment because I wasn't expecting it. And this is like not story spoilers for Horizon Forbidden West, but like gameplay moment spoilers, I guess. Of course, you have the cauldrons that you explore in that game, right? And each cauldron is like, in the cauldrons that's where they're developing the different machines. Somewhere later on in the game, you find a tall neck cauldron, and first getting there, I was like, oh shit. Oh, this is the moment. This is from Dying Light 2.
Fuck! Pepper! What are you waiting for? Kill it! What? No! This game is fucking sick. Holy shit.
Oh my god.
That's it. Yeah, that was.
Oh my god, someone in games media enjoying a game? That's fucking crazy.
And that was me not even realizing my microphone was on.
Yeah,
and so I saved the video, went back and watched it, and I was like, hell yeah, my mic's on. All right, I got everything.
Even better.
God, shout out to Dying Light 2. But where was I? Oh, Tall Neck Cauldron in Horizon, right? Like first getting in there, I was like, oh shit, all right, this is really cool as hell. But then at the moment you finish that cauldron, and there is this moment of like rising out of the cauldron on the tall neck.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was like the moment of the game for me, where I was like, dude, they did the damn thing. This is exactly what I want out of an open world game that like has these different things to explore, has these different areas, has these tall necks to climb. Moments where it is, all right, now let's get unconventional with it. Let's combine a tall neck with a cauldron and have it be the special moment of you figuring out what to do, and boom, like you unlock part of the map. That I thought was super fun.
What did you hate? What Eric wants to know, what was your biggest disappointment, Bless?
For me, probably Dark Pictures, Devil in Me. I had such high hopes for Devil in Me.
Only 2 points in Fantasy Critic on that one. It was rough.
Were you disappointed because of the Fantasy Critic, or did you try it out?
I was disappointed because of the Fantasy Critic. I haven't tried it, but I will still play through all of it because I'm sick.
But yeah, like that was Dark Pictures is a franchise I think all of us here are super into, right? You like the supermassive games, and Devil in Me I think so far has been the most disappointing one out of all of the supermassive releases. And that's not even, and the worst part is it's not even a story problem, it's not even a writing problem, it's not about the characters. Like it is just how badly the game runs and performs, especially when you're playing it in co-op. And like the bugs, and it feels rushed. You know, like a lot of the gameplay stuff in Devil in Me just doesn't hit in the way that in previous Dark Pictures games they've at least either been like good or good enough, right? Man of Medan was like fine.
I didn't like Man of Medan.
Oh, you didn't like it?
No.
For me, I thought it was like fine, right? And like the Little Hope, the one that came after it, was like I thought it was fine.
I was like,
as
all right,
well.
cool.
And then House of Ashes was like, oh man, okay, this is good. Like I really enjoy this. And then you get Quarry, and it's like, okay, cool, this is Supermassive we like. Devil in Me, I think, is legitimately just not a good game.
Damn.
Which bums me out because I look forward to every single thing they do. So yeah, that's my pick.
Janet, what were your disappointment?
So
I know
many
there's multiple here. I know you're like me where you wrote a million.
Yeah. Well, I decided I'm like, if we're just laying it all out there for a second, why not?
When I list all of mine, it's there because I wanted it to be like I'm gonna make a choice in the
Looking at Janet's list, there's one that I actually should have said that.
I've listed one as my number one, so I'm gonna go with Gotham Knights as my number one disappointment.
Sure.
I think because I think there was a lot riding on it in terms of people really wanting the game to be good because of the IP association. For me, having spent my preview time with it, which I did the preview for KindaFunny, I was like, this can kind of go either way, but I don't know which way it's going to go. Maybe it'll shake out all right. And then getting the hand on the final build and realizing that it did not shake out all right. And then going further and being like, this is actively pretty bad. And then seeing that through, which again, that was my choice to see it through. I just kind of wanted to finish it.
Sure.
But yeah, I think it was, of the games that I thought of for disappointments, I think it is probably the worst game that's on the list of my disappointments, which includes stuff like We Are AFK, Callisto Protocol, Saints Row. Like it's so rough in so many ways. And it's like it's drawn out. Like there's so many problems with it. Yeah, it was pretty disappointing. And I feel like too, the added disappointment comes from the people around me in my life wanting it to be good and then it just failing then,
Sure.
People like Barrett, people like Isaiah. Like it's like there was so much kind of riding on it in a way, in terms of excitement. So for it to not only miss the mark, but be, I think, in a lot of ways actively bad is what's rough to me. Because plenty of games are kind of like middling or whatever.
Sure.
But yeah, Gotham Knights is real rough. So that's my biggest disappointment.
Surprisingly, not my biggest disappointment of the year.
Ooh.
What was yours?
I want to know yours.
Nobody saves the world.
Huh.
Y'all are crazy. Y'all are wild. Oh my god.
I know the folks
It's
at
so
MinMax love
good.
it. It's one of those things where
It's just me and Ben.
To be clear.
Yeah.
I wanted something else from that dev, and that's like a very just like selfish thing. I think they make a really great Metroidvania, and that's not what that game was. And that was just like a kind of like a, oh man, I'm really not in the mood for a dungeon crawler type of thing, and that really bummed me out.
I think that game mainly had like a progression problem for me, where you progress in that game by basically doing like achievement style challenges, where it's use this ability this many
5
times. Use this ability.
Yeah.
So like it wants you to use all the different characters and abilities, but then I think that takes out so much of the player agency of getting to choose like, oh, I actually want to play as the slug and do this thing. And at a certain point, I just got annoyed by having to play as a horse and not being able to do the horse thing I wanted to do.
And
It reveals new combos and opportunities to me, like that forced like achievement style. I also played it co-op, so maybe that's another reason that like I might have a different opinion. Like I played with Isaiah and it was awesome. Like
And the co-op does help.
And the reason why Gotham Knights would probably be number 2 or 3 is just because I feel like the closer we got to it, the lower my expectations started to become, especially on the gameplay side of it. When they really started showing gameplay last year, I was like, all right, it'll probably be a very middling open world, kind of like Arkham Origins, hopefully with a great story. And so it was really just the disappointment.
Good
on the
emails.
story. Interesting emails that would have been really interesting to implement into the main story, Greg.
I agree.
I had blanked out Saints Row out of my memory, like a traumatic experience.
Sure.
That is actually my number one. At least Dark Pictures, Devil in Me, I plan to finish. Saints Row was a game that I love Volition. I like Saints Row a lot, right? I love Red Faction. I love the games that they put out. And Saints Row was one where I was like, please be good. I'm looking forward to this. If this hits, if it hits, I'm gonna love it, right? And for the things that they were showing, I was like, this open world looks like it could be fun, right? I like the style of open world it is. We don't get that many open world city games anymore. And then getting my hands on Saints Row was just, man, they just dropped the ball in every single way they could. And so yeah, that's my actual number one. Thanks for reminding me of that, Janet.
Thanks,
I gotcha.
Janet. I listed a whole bunch of stuff, but in the moment I knew I would pick one, and I'm gonna go with We Are AFK.
hell yes, because this pained me too. What do you gotta say?
I mean, it's, we're the same person, so it's the same thing. But like, in the build up to what this thing was going to be, I totally kind of ignored it. then it was we got close and there was that trailer and I was like, wait. And then they had the single out and I loved the single and played that on repeat for like a week. And I was like, yes, let's go. Let's be a Bane. Let's go. And like to start that game and the visual style of the game and the idea of the game and the premise of, these, for the most part, game developers are like leaving their jobs and they want to do this Bane thing. And it was like, this seems like it's going to be awesome. And again, we're talking about story and gameplay at the very top of this. Like this game is not a game, right? In so many different ways. Like there isn't like you're playing and doing stuff on sticks. You're just making choices and those choices really aren't even influencing the story. You're being told the story, but it had everything except compelling characters that were making logical conclusions. And it was 5 episodes that the first, I would say episode 1 could have been fine. And then episodes 2, 3, and 4 should have all been episode 2. And then we should have gone to episode 5 or episode 5's 3. And then we get 2 more after there of where we're going. We just got bogged down in these characters that the more I found out about them, the less compelling they were. Because they weren't, not everybody, but for the most part, I felt like these are people making illogical decisions and they're all kind of dirtbaggy. And I understand when you're young and single and trying to figure out your life, you're going to make bad choices. We all have. But it was just like, there's a specific thing where I was like, why the fuck would you do this? I don't believe this character that you've established that I actually do enjoy up until this point would make this decision. And it feels like you're only doing this to move it on. So I was like, meh. So it super sucked to get to the end of it even and like roll credits and be like, see, I like where you're leaving this. Like, I like that we got here. We should have got here at episode 3. We should have gotten there to then see what happens next and next. But we didn't get that instead. But the music's good. The visual styles were cool. It was a whole bunch of shit that I should have loved. And it was just, it did not work together. And because of mainly how they were writing up that story, and that sucked.
I like the
I will say I appreciate
text messages.
that. Yeah, the text messages were well written. Every year there's a random indie game that me and Greg play and then don't like, but enjoy talking to each other about it because no one else is going to play it, nor do we recommend it because we end up not liking it. This year was We Are Okay. I think last year was Where the Heart Leads.
Yep, that's 100%.
I think would be our
yeah.
one. I'm excited for what next year is. How will I be broken in new ways?
What was that one game that was like
Death
space
Far Shore.
game? Yes.
Death the Far Shore,
Yes,
yeah.
Far Shore.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
we fucking hate
Damn,
that game.
I didn't even
But
explain
we
it. You
didn't
knew what I was
finish
talking
that.
about.
For like the thing is, me and Greg have to finish it for it to fall into this. You
Okay,
know what I mean?
fair enough. Yeah, we're actually power through. We're like, I've come too far. Yeah.
Yeah.
OFK was like a special brand of dissertation from you where I was like, I don't like it. And you're like, I don't know why. And then I went to bed and I woke up and I had like 17 text messages from Janet and they were all novels about it. Love it. But speaking of next year, let's not talk about what we'll hate next year. Jordan Deeb says the most anticipated 2023 PlayStation release, or I'm sorry, PlayStation exclusive. And for me, it's a no-brainer. Spider-Man 2 from Insomniac.
Yeah, same.
Hell yeah.
You got Venom. We got shirtless Miles Morales. We got shirtless Spider-Man. No, I guess we just have Spider-Man and Miles Morales, unless Insomniac's not a bunch of cowards.
Don't be coward.
To see their continuation of both Pete's story, Miles' story, add in Venom, see what they're going to do with Harry Osborn. I can't wait to get back into that world and get a gigantic Spider-Man story.
What are the chances that, because this is going up on Friday, the day after the Game Awards, what are the chances that by the time this goes up, your answer's already changed?
You know what? I don't know, because we're doing the Gamescast after this. Gamescap after this. And I'm going to get maybe I'll have another lemon cloud, and we'll see what I come up with. But I do have Spider-Man predictions on my predictions sheet there for Game Awards.
Man, if God shines down on me and Last of Us Factions finally gets fully revealed for 2023, let me tell you, that'll be my answer.
Yeah. Janet, you said Spider-Man 2 as well?
Yeah, I had Isaiah, shout out to Isaiah in the chat, bring me our Spider-Man Squishmallow, which admittedly, when I first saw this thing, I was like, it's kind of horrifying. Warmed up to it. But yeah, I mean, I think just from hype, having liked the previous games, or, game, if you want to just only count Spider-Man, was it 2018? Was that the year?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
For sure.
2018. Yeah, I like what they're doing. That's also one where I'm waiting for them to can they break past the stratosphere they've created for themselves of being an 8 or 9 level game and get into that next level. And the thing is, even if they don't, I think I'm still gonna have a fun time. Like, I like the construction of those games, and I think even if they don't end up innovating in big ways or making it more dynamic, it'll take a while for me to be sick of that style because it just feels so good to swing around and hang out, and the construction feels very familiar and cozy. Again, I do think there's limitations in that because it's so go here, beat these people up, grab this. But I think they do a lot of playful things with storytelling, and again, integrating that with the gameplay in terms of, if we're thinking of Miles Morales, just to kind of lump those in as a kind of a group, right? There was like what was it? The not memories, but the time capsule pieces and things like that.
His
So I'm
backpacks,
excited to see, what ways they're going to pull in storytelling to that kind of collectathon that they've sort of established. But yeah, I'm excited for it.
Blessing, you have to be different, so I'm sure it's not Spider-Man 2, especially because you hated Miles Morales. But go ahead.
So Spider-Man 2 was like tied for my number one, but I did want to add variety, so we didn't all sound like robots up here. And so
They're so homogenous, kind of
homogenous.
funny.
I'm going Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, even though like part of me is like that's not even going to come out next year. I'm sure that'll get delayed or not officially announced for 2023.
Hey, Crisis Core actually hit this winter, so next
true.
winter, man.
That's like the one sliver of hope that I have is the fact that Crisis Core actually hit 2022.
But
and
also,
so,
all they said was next winter. Does that mean at the end of next year or the beginning of the year afterwards? Well, who knows?
who knows? But for now, I'm choosing, because of Crisis Core's timing, I'm choosing to believe 2023 until they disappoint me. But yeah, I think for me, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Spider-Man 2 are like, of the same tier of, oh man, I'm so excited for both these games, right? And Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, even though it's a sequel to Final Fantasy VII Remake, I think what excites me is that for me, it feels like a more unknown quantity, right?
Sure.
Where Spider-Man 2, I'm looking forward to hanging out with Venom. I'm looking forward to like all the stuff.
Yo, Eddie, let's get a burger.
Yeah, like I'm looking forward to doing all the Spider-Man shit that I've been doing for the last 2 decades, right? Like I'm looking forward to it in that sense, and the fact that like I love playing Spider-Man games. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I just have this weird relationship with Final Fantasy VII where I've only played that game up to a point, right? Like when Final Fantasy VII Remake came out, I went back, picked up the old game, the remastered game on PS4, and played like 15 to 20 hours and got up to like, I can't remember where I stopped, but like I got up to a certain point. I really want to see how the game how Rebirth interprets that stuff, how Rebirth like maybe opens up and possibly goes open world because of the nature of Final Fantasy VII. I have so many questions in terms of how they tackle it, and then also where they go in story, because now we know that like even though it's a remake, it's not all the way a remake, right? Like there are these
It's
weird
not all the way remake.
Yeah, like there are these weird things that are happening in the world of Final Fantasy VII, and so there's so many questions to it, and it feels like such an unknown quantity, and so yeah, I think for me, I'm putting that as my most anticipated.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is your third annual PS I Love You XOXO PlayStation Awards. Thank you, of course, for watching and supporting us for another year. Of course, sound off in the comments on YouTube to tell us, hey, this is what I think should have won. This is what I'm excited for in 2023. If you're a podcast listener driving a car, roll down your window, scream it outside. And then hopefully somebody else hears that they scream it, and it's like 101 Dalmatians, and I eventually hear what you were trying to say. And it'll be great. Remember, one more episode of PS I Love You XOXO before our holiday break. So write in to kindafunny.com/PSILY for free and tell us all about your PlayStation 2023 predictions and what happened on that Game Awards. And we don't know yet, but by the time you see this, you should have known, unless you're a trog right now watching live, getting ready for Gamescast. I digress. If you want to be one of those trogs and you'd like to watch the Gamescast live, PS I Love You live, the Kinda Funny podcast live, Screencast live, you name it live, you should go to patreon.com/kindafunny. Over there, of course, you can watch each and every one of our podcasts record live, ad-free, and of course, you can get 38 episodes of bonus content a month. It's fantastic, it's exclusive, and it's all on patreon.com/kindafunny. However, if you have no bucks tossed our way, no big deal. Each and every episode of PS I Love You XOXO posts on Fridays. YouTube.com/KindaFunnyGames, podcast services around the globe. No matter where you get the show, please consider like, subscribe, share, leave a review, do all that jazz. And until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.